This is the October 7th, 2025 regular meeting of the Chatham County Savannah Metropolitan Planning Commission.
The Chatham County Savannah Metropolitan Planning Commission consists of Mr. Travis Coles, Chairman, Mr. Tom Wildwoody, Vice Chairman, Ms. Lorraine Bowles, Secretary, Mr. Jeff Nortrica, Treasurer. Board members include Mr. Dwayne Stevens, Mr. Joseph Irvine, Ms. Amanda Wilson, Ms. Karen Jarrett, Ms. Corinne Ross, Ms. Tracy Amick, Mr. Michael Kegler, Mr. Jay Melder, Mr. Joseph Welch, and Mr. Stephen Plunk. The MPC Executive Director is Melanie Wilson.
I'll go through this, Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. The October 7th, 2025 regular meeting of the Chatham County Savannah Metropolitan Planning Commission will now come to order. We will pause for the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. For staff, petitioners, and members of the public who are participating, our procedures will be as follows. The agenda is broken down into several parts. First, notices, proclamations, and acknowledgments. Next, the consent agenda, which consists of items for which the applicant is in agreement with the staff recommendation and there are no known objections. This will be followed by regular business, old business, and adjournment. For each agenda item on the regular business, the staff will make a presentation. The staff presentation will be then followed by a presentation from the petitioner, should they elect to do so. The petitioner will be allowed a time slot of no more than 20 minutes. The board may then ask questions of the petitioner or staff for clarification. Afterwards, the floor will be open for public comment. If you wish to comment on the item that the board is considering at that time, members of the public that are in person must fill out a blue speaker card and give to staff. So if you're here with us in the building and you wish to speak today, you've taken your time to come here, please make sure you fill out a blue speaker card so that we can call on you upon your allotted time. If you're participating virtually, use the raise your hand feature on your screen. Do not use the feature until the item you wish to comment on is being considered. At the appropriate time, you'll be recognized and staff will unmute your microphone. At the end of your allotted time, as determined by the chair, your microphone will be muted and the chair will recognize the next speaker. The total public comment time will be less than or equivalent to the petitioner's presentation time. Therefore, for those participating online, it is important that you use the raise your hand feature during the hearing on that item. If you want to speak on a petition, once the floor is closed for public comment on a petition, no additional public speakers will be allowed. If you are not certain you want to speak, still use the raise your hand feature, or if in person, fill out the speaker card. You will have the option to decline when your name is called. After public comment, the petitioner will have the opportunity for rebuttal and then address any additional needed questions by the board. Finally, the board will take action. And just a note for our board members up here, we do have a new person taking minutes, so please, when you speak, make sure you state your name clearly for them to make sure they're maintaining the record. First order of business is the approval of the agenda.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Plunk, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Next, we have notices, proclamations, and acknowledgments. And we have, I believe, we are all being sworn in here by the Honorable Michael Karp. All right.
Oh, we have to come down front.
All of us?
The officers will be sworn in front, but everybody will stand up behind. All board members.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. I'm pleased to be here this afternoon. I used to have this gig years ago, but I got replaced by a newer, younger model, my son, but he's out of town, so he warned me not to use any of the old jokes. You all had heard it all before, so I won't be doing any of that. But it is a pleasure for me to be here. I used to be a member of this board long time ago, before most of y'all were born, I think. But It was a pleasure then, and I'm happy to be here today. If you'll all raise your right hands, please. I will read the oath, and at the end of it, you will all say, "I do," if you subscribe to the oath, okay? You do solemnly swear that you hold no position of public trust or private interest which places you in a position of conflict of purpose with the Charter of the Metropolitan Planning Commission, and that, in accordance with the constitutions of the United States and the state of Georgia, the laws of this state, and all applicable local ordinances, you will faithfully discharge your duties as officers of said commission, deciding each matter that shall come before the commission on its merits alone, without fear or favor with regard to any affected parties or agencies. And please respond by saying, "I do."
I do.
Okay, I'll declare you all officially installed for this year. You can be seated. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Pleasure.
All right, next on the agenda, we have, thank you, Your Honor, for being here as well, sorry. Next on the agenda, we have items requested to be removed from the final agenda, and that's a variance to GDP at 502 Virginia Avenue. Is anybody here to speak on that? All right,
You need a motion?
need a motion?
Motion to remove item number 2, variance to GDP 502 Virginia Avenue.
Ross, second.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right. There are no items requested to be withdrawn. On the consent agenda, we have the approval of the 2026 holiday schedule and major subdivision Camden Crossing Phase 3, 2750 Little Neck Road. Need a motion?
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Plunk second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we have no old business, so we'll move into regular business. Minor Master Plan Amendment 5714 Ogeechee Road.
I'm so sorry. My name is Edward Morrow. I'm the Director of Development Services here at the MPC. I am going to be speaking to you first about a master plan amendment out at 5714 Ogeechee Road. Messing up. All right, here we go. All right, 5714 Ogeechee Road. This is a minor master plan amendment for the Berwick Plantation Master Plan. The exchange at Berwick is the area that is out front adjoining Ogeechee Road out in front of Kroger. You can see the future land use map is indicated for commercial suburban development in this area, and the zoning is consistent with the PUD-C. And again, that is consistent with the existing Berwick Master Plan. The primary issue that we have here is a site permitting issue. When this came through originally, I believe it was back in the early 2000s, perhaps 2004, the original developer designated this particular parcel as common area, and many of the landscape and tree quality points were indicated for that use. Many years later, here in 2025, the developer, the current owner of the parcel, intends to develop the subject parcel consistent with the uses that are permitted in the PUD-C zoning district. You can see here, this is the current Berwick Master Plan, adopted June 7th, 2023. Oh, that's so sad.
So it means they can't hear. They can't see it either.
All right. Is it back? There we go. Okay. I'm so sorry about that. I'm so sorry. I wasn't trying to keep it from you.
I need to present it.
Are you serious? I am not normally this tech illiterate. I feel so bad. All right. Thank you, Sabashi. All right, so this is the Berwick Master Plan, current as of June 7, 2023, and you can see the exchange there, that large red area that's adjoining Ogeechee Road. This is the proposed site plan. The petitioner intends to ensure the continuity of the buffer so that there will not be a difference between the established buffer on the adjoining parcels. And you can see kind of to the north side there, that is the pad that is proposed for development here with the building. And obviously, this parcel would be accessed internally from that internal drive just in front of Kroger. And so with that, MPC staff is recommending approval of this request for the master plan. We also have the Chatham County Arborist here at hand. Again, this is a site plan related issue. And so this zoning approval is contingent upon the developer meeting all dependencies that were previously associated with this parcel. And so the arborist is here to answer any questions you may have.
Is the petitioner here to speak on this item?
Yes. Please don't make me leave this.
Thank you. Robert McCorkle here on behalf of the petitioner. This is the Kroger Shopping Center at Berwick. It's subject to a set of covenants that were established back in 2004. This project was originally developed between 2001 and 2004. I'd show you a picture, but I don't want to go back to and lose our mojo here with the pictures. In 2021, all the owners of the shopping center amended the covenants to convert this lot, which was directly in front of the Kroger, which was left basically to have trees to block the view of the Kroger, and to be open space. They revised the covenants to make this a developable lot. It was unanimously approved by all the owners, including Kroger. And when they did that, they established all the standards for the lot. It can't have height above 28 feet. It can't have a building more than 9,000 square feet. It has parking requirements, all the things that you would normally go into having. The one thing they did not do at the time was to amend the master plan, which still showed the lot as common area. The county has taxed this property as a commercial lot since that time when it was converted. It's now owned by an individual owner. The developer of the lot, of the parcel, the shopping center as a whole is no longer controlling the shopping center. And so this is just an amendment to allow this to be developed. You can see here, just one thing I want to point out. In this area right here, these are the only trees that are really still remaining on this lot. At one point, this was a wooded lot. There are very few trees there. I had a picture to show you, but you just have to imagine it. And so one of the good things that's going to come from the development of this lot is we are going to handle stormwater on the site, and also we are going to reestablish, as you can see on the site plan, the buffer. We've talked to the county engineering department and the county arborist about this, and we have a tree survey underway that is not just for our site, which we've already done, but for the entire shopping center to make sure that any tree point issues are addressed when we go through the process of developing the property and reestablishing the buffer. And so with that background, we support staff's recommendation and ask for your approval.
Thank you. Any questions for the petitioner?
Mr. McCorkle, you may not be at liberty or even know at this juncture. Do you know what type of business it could potentially be, or are they intending for it to be?
It has to fall within the covenants. I think there's discussion of it possibly being a bank, but as of right now, it's not final as to what it's going to be.
Okay, I appreciate that.
And have you already selected your arborist? I'm sorry, have you already selected your arborist?
It's underway, so the answer is yes, but I can't tell you who it is because I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay,
Sorry.
thank you.
Jarrett, so this fits within the master plan, we're not changing densities or anything like that?
Correct. This doesn't change density or add any uses or do anything else that change the master plan.
Thank you.
I don't have any speaker cards. Any discussion?
Thank you.
Open the floor for...
Motion to grant
petitioner's request.
Why would he second?
All right, we have a motion and a second. Ms. Amick?
Yes.
Ms. Bowles?
Yes.
Mr. Irvin, or, we don't listen to Mr. Irvin. Ms. Jarrett?
Yes.
Mr. Kegler?
Yes.
Mr. Melder?
Yes.
Mr. Matrika?
Yes.
Mr. Plunk?
Yes.
Ms. Ross?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Mr. Welch?
Yes.
Mr. Wywoody?
Yes.
And I too vote yes. Motion carries. I do also want to recognize that we have Alderman Dietrich Leggett on the line. He wanted to be here in person but couldn't be, so he's joined us virtually. All right, next up we have variance to GDP 106 Central Junction Boulevard.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and the members of the board. My name is Subhashi Karunaratna. I'm a planner from the MPC presenting the staff findings and recommendation for 106 Central Junction Boulevard. Here, the petitioner is asking for a variance to a general development plan, specifically side yard setback and rear yard setback reductions. Here you can see the subject property within these yellow lines, and you can see that there's a building that is already existing. It was constructed in 1997 according to the tax assessor. It is currently functioning as a warehouse and a testing laboratory. The proposed development is to add an addition to this building that would encroach into the setbacks. Since the existing building is also in the rear yard setback, this is non-conforming. They also need relief from non-conformity for this project. This right here is the aerial view of the vicinity of the property. This right here is the subject warehouse. You can see the Ogeechee Road and a railway line running behind the property. And one thing I forgot to mention is that this property behind the property is a currently vacant, and it belongs to the railway tracks. And this right here is the proposed site plan. You can see this is the addition in dark gray, and that will be encroaching into the side yard and the rear yard setback. The light dashed line is what the setbacks are going to look like once the building is constructed. As you can see, the lot is not what you would usually see. It has a trapezoidal, uncommon shape, and it also has a curved frontage to the Central Junction Boulevard. So that gives challenge to the developer to construct this building without encroaching into the setbacks. And this is the zoning map and the future land use map. The subject property is amidst light industrial zoning and future land use designations, so they are confirming. And this is the standard that is at an issue, which is the setbacks that requires 20 for the side and the rear yards. Because of the challenge the petitioner is facing, taking into the consideration of the lot shape, MPC staff recommends approval for the two setback change requests and also relief from nonconformity for the existing building. Thank you. I would like to answer any
Thank you.
questions.
Is the petitioner here?
Good afternoon, Planning Commission. I'm Jay Daniels with Pape Dawson Engineers. I'll be the civil engineer on this project, representing AAV Holdings and the owner, Mr. Al, I'm going to try to pronounce his last name, Veer Heelig. The project proposes, well, and as it was stated earlier, the project proposes the development of 4,766 square feet of additional building space with striped parking spaces that meets the requirements of the new building addition. The property is currently zoned light industrial and is backed up to the existing property lines as it was stated earlier, like the adjacent properties that it connects to. The owner is requesting to reduce the side yard setback from 20 feet to 10 feet and reduce the rear yard setback from 20 feet to 5 feet. This will allow the owner to expand his business and storage capabilities to continue to provide services for Savannah and the Chatham County area. At this time, I'll be happy to answer any technical questions that you may have.
Any questions for the petitioner or staff? Don't have any speaker cards on this one either. No one online. All right, any discussion? Open the floor for a motion.
Motion to grant petitioner's request. Plunk.
Why would he second?
All right, we have a proper motion and second. Ms. Anik?
Yes.
Ms. Bowles?
Yes.
Ms. Jarrett?
Yes.
Mr. Kegler?
Yes.
Mr. Melder?
Yes.
Mr. Mutrika?
Yes.
Mr. Plunk?
Yes.
Ms. Ross?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Mr. Welsh?
Yes.
Mr. Wywoody?
Yes.
I too vote yes, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have a variance to GDP 619 Columbus Drive.
Good afternoon, members of the board and Mr. Chair. My name is Sadie Laurent with Development Services. Here to talk about 619 Columbus Drive. The petitioner is seeking MPC approval of 2 variances in association with a non-conforming major subdivision in the RSF zoning district. The parcel is proposed to be subdivided into 4 new lots with an existing structure to be demolished, and 4 single-family detached dwellings are proposed for the new lots. They're requesting 2 variances, one to reduce the minimum lot area where 6,000 feet is required to about 4,590 square feet for 4 lots, and then to reduce the lot width from the required 60 feet to just over 42 feet for 4 lots. Before I go any further, I would like to mention that the lot area variance request is an eligible variance to be requested. It was confirmed in a ZBA meeting last year with the file number 24-002305-ZBA that the minimum lot area can be varied for single family because it is not a lot area per unit standard. Moving on to this view, which should provide further perspective on the size of the lot and the surrounding development, here is the current primary dwelling that is proposed to be demolished. The lot has a future land use of residential suburban single family, and it is zoned RSF 6. And this is the concept plan for what the petitioner is requesting. The lot is currently conforming with a lot area of 18,357 square feet and a lot width of 170 feet and a depth of 108 feet. Here are the standards in the zoning ordinance that are requested to be varied. The current lot area of the parcel is over 3 times the minimum for the district and just slightly under 3 times for the lot width that is minimum required for the district. Additionally, here is a map with a study area with parcels that extend 3 blocks beyond 619 Columbus Drive in the RSF 6 zoning district. The vast majority of these parcels are conforming. Only 11 out of 555 parcels are non-conforming regarding both lot area and lot width, which are conditions that already exist, meaning that these parcels already existed before the current zoning ordinance. These can be denoted by the orange shading, which shows the parcels that have a lot width that is under 60 feet, which is the minimum for the zoning district, and then over top of that, the crosshatch shading are the lots that are under 6,000 square feet. So out of the 555 of these, 11 of them are both non-conforming in regards to lot width and lot area. Even more, only 4 of those 11 of those parcels have a lot area of less than 5,000 square feet, all of which have houses that were built pre the new zoning ordinance. With that, the requested variances are not consistent with the intent of the zoning ordinance, and there is no hardship. Further, there are other subdivision options besides what the petitioner is requesting. For one, the parcel could be subdivided into 2 parcels by right without the needing to be requesting variances. And 2, they could potentially subdivide the parcel into 3 lots, which is what staff is recommending today, and a variance is still needed for that. So to say in other words, a lot width variance is still required for a lower threshold or tier of subdivision into 3 lots. And this slide shows the comparison. So on the left is staff's recommendation, which has conforming with lot area, where it has a lot area of over 6,000 square feet for all 3 parcels. And then it has a lot width reduction from 60 feet to 56 feet, which is much more consistent with the development pattern of the neighboring lots. And then the right is the same concept plan that was proposed by the petitioner. So with that, MPC staff recommends denial of the petitioner's requested variance and alternatively recommend for the subdivision to be combined into 3 lots with a lot width variance and a condition that if approved, the petition number associated with the variance request shall be recorded on the plat. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Would the petitioner like to present?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. Josh Yellen here today representing the developer, Vanguard Development. I had some slides to show. I'm tempted to test fate here and see if we can see it, but I do think it will be important. It was attached to the agenda. Thank you. Thank you. And so with us today from Vanguard Development, which is a local small-scale development group that's primarily focused on projects like this, primarily focused on infill housing. We have Andrew Savage and Ryan Jennings. Both are local to the Savannah market, and as mentioned, are small-scale infill developers. And so in keeping with their pedigree and their past project, what we are looking to do here today is to provide an infill development project on Columbus Drive with a goal towards providing what we think is necessary missing middle housing in Savannah. That is housing that promotes housing diversity and provides much needed housing stock for the city. This isn't multifamily housing, this isn't townhomes, but what we are proposing is local, single-family, detached residences. And this petition that we're proposing, I know it's gotten a lot of press and there are a lot of people here to talk about it. This petition isn't necessarily unique. We've seen applications come before this board for approval on the east side of town. We've seen applications come before this board for approval on the west side of town. These have all been approved by this board. We all know the need for increased housing in the city. What is unique for this proposal, I will say, is the location on Columbus Drive. But there are certain scenarios and certain issues with this site that make it an excellent site for this type of development. From the housing standpoint, and I'm sure you're all aware, Georgia Tech, CETA, and various local jurisdictions recently released their housing inventory and housing projections for Savannah and Chatham County. And frankly, some of the numbers that were shot out by them were pretty bleak as to the housing needs for our community. That Savannah needs to add approximately 4,000 housing units by 2030. Chatham County needs to add approximately 17,626 housing units in the same amount of time. And that does not account for what we see as going to be increases that will need to occur within that 5-year period. So those massive numbers are only going to get bigger. I was informed recently that there was a study done by Whitney Shepard, who has studied this issue, that even if we were to take every single undeveloped parcel in the area, we would only have 22,000 housing units available, which is not enough to meet the demand that's going to be projected within 5 years. And so by not hitting these targets, by not creating new housing, we are causing an affordability crisis in the area. And each step that we take to decrease this housing burden is a benefit for the community at large. And so what we are proposing today, in a small way, is to address this issue, to provide missing middle housing, and that's a subtle shift in housing conditions that cumulatively can have a massive impact on the area. We're not providing a large multifamily housing complex. We are not trying to encourage urban sprawl here. We're trying to create additional housing units that are in keeping with their surroundings. And so for context, what you have on the screen is the actual house. It's an extremely oversized lot, and we are trying to take this site and subdivide it into 4 single-family lots, each lot being approximately 5,489 square feet in area and 42.5 feet wide. As you can see from this aerial, which I think is indicative of the site, this lot is currently nearly 1/2 acre in size. It is oversized. It is clearly underutilized. It's very hard for me not to look at this image and see which lot is out of place in context of the area, and it is this oversized lot. This is the lot that's out of place in the vicinity. And so our proposed subdivision, we believe in creating 4 new housing units, 4 new single-family housing units, is great for Savannah, and it also aligns with the city's planning mandate. Under the city's comprehensive plan, the city is encouraging this type of development. encouraging missing middle housing. And we are all aware that each additional unit provided in the area, whether the unit is for luxury housing, whether it's for affordable housing, whether it's for workforce housing, that each new unit helps the community and helps to bring the overall cost of housing down. This is also echoed by the Housing Savannah Action Plan, which explicitly advocates for the development of missing middle housing, like single-family detached homes, to address the severe housing shortage in the area. Despite the need for such housing and the policy reasons for granting today's variance should be granted because this request is in keeping with the area and will not have a negative impact on the vicinity. The 4-lot infill development is consistent with the actual character of the area and is not detrimental to the public welfare. As shown on the slide that MPC staff referenced, there are actually lots in the vicinity, and I know they're saying it's only 11, but 11 is not 0, that are of similar size, shape, and character to this site. There are, however, only 2 lots in the vicinity on that map that are as large as this project. 2 lots, period, that are going to be roughly half an acre in this portion of Savannah. The proposed lots that we're seeking today simply formalize an already existing occurrence of smaller, narrower lots. And so this is what the actual subdivision would look like. 4 lots of very substantial size, over 4,500 square feet in area, and 42.5 feet wide. If we were to go down 2.5 blocks from our site, we have this development at 313, or I guess it's 311, 313 Columbus Drive. 2.5 blocks away from this project with homes on them. I don't think anyone would look at these homes and say these are substandard homes, that these homes are causing a detriment to their community, that the neighbors have been impacted by this development. Yet, these homes were approved by the ZBA in 2014. And so since 2014, has this neighborhood been destroyed? I do not think so. But what's important to note about these homes is that these lots are 30 feet wide, and the lot area on them is 3,240 feet wide. What we are proposing is 42.5 foot wide lots, and 42.5 foot wide lots, which are 42% larger in size than what occurs just down the block. They are larger and they are significantly wider. In addition, and I think this is important to note, what we are showing as a concept plan here, because these developers were very careful, they didn't pick this 4-lot subdivision out at random. They studied the area, they looked at housing, they looked at what could be built on site. And so with this 4-lot subdivision, 42.5 feet wide, it still allows for a base footprint, so that is ground floor of 1,200 square feet. They haven't yet decided how these would be developed. Would they be 2 stories? Would they be 1 story? Would they be 1.5 stories? But to have a 1,200 square foot base footprint is substantially in keeping with the area. And similarly, and some of the concerns that we've heard is spacing. Oh, you're going to jam 4 lots into this one single family lot. It's going to be so close to all the neighbors. And that, in fact, is simply not the case. With this 1,200 square foot footprint, we are approximately 46 feet away from the adjacent home on Columbus, at 611 Columbus, and then 23 feet away from the home at 625 Columbus. And this still preserves 19 feet of separation between the internal buildings. And like I said, the developers have looked at the area. They went in and looked at the properties in the immediate vicinity and looked at the spacing of houses that's currently there. On average, the current separation between buildings in this area is 19 feet, which is exactly what we are trying to propose here today. So we do believe that this variance is necessary because of the housing shortage, and we do believe that it meets the criteria. We do believe that it promotes quality development, and we also note that there is a clear precedent that has been set for these types of variances. As staff mentioned, previously the ZBA has confirmed that these types of variances are permitted under the ordinance. But I do just want to make sure that this board is aware that in the past 6 months, at 1605 and 1607 LeGrand, at 1214 East Victory Drive, at 647, 649, 651 East 32nd, and then previously at Columbus Drive. These similar variances have been approved by this board and at ZBA. These variances are becoming more and more common as we know we need to promote infill development to meet our housing shortage. I would also like to state that from a personal matter, and without being too specific as to where I actually live, my home was once a large single-family lot that was subdivided into 4 houses. It's in the adjacent neighborhood. I would not have been able to afford where I moved without this variance, with some developer coming in 2015 and subdividing that lot into 4 houses, into getting those variances that were necessary to build housing there. So I'm appreciative of developers, for local developers like Andrew and Ryan, for coming in and taking the initiative here to try and get this necessary housing stock. As you have seen, there are lots of letters of support for this project. There are also lots of letters against this project. I do want to thank the people that have turned out today to support this project and against this project. You know, having your opinion heard is great. The letters of support that came in, if you have not read them, I think that they're all very heartfelt. They're all very personal. They are from residents in the area and from community members at large who know that we need this type of housing. We need to promote this type of single-family housing in areas that we can. We are not trying to do away with the City of Savannah's zoning ordinance, but we are trying to find housing where we can and to build housing that is sensible and in keeping with its surroundings. And so with that, I would like to respectfully request that you approve of today's variance for the 4-lot subdivision so that we can start making a meaningful impact on addressing the housing crisis in the City of Savannah, but in a way that is respectful of the surroundings and makes sense for the community. And so I thank you all for your time.
Thank you. Any questions?
I have 2 questions. Thank you, Mr. Yellen. 2 questions for you. First of all, what, if any, efforts were made by the developers to talk to the community? Can you talk to us a little bit about, have there been any community meetings, input, anything like that?
Yes, sir.
And then second of all, obviously you saw staff recommendation. Can you speak to petitioners' feelings on the 3 as opposed to the 4? You know, are they fine with that? Do they want to continue to push for the 4? What's the thoughts on the staff
Yes, sir.
recommendation?
If you don't mind, I would like to bring up the developers. Sorry, I'm putting them on the spot without any warning. But this is Andrew, one of the partners at Vanguard Development, and he can talk about the neighborhood outreach and then also the 3 lots. But thank you all.
Thanks, Josh. Thank you all for being here and listening to this. I'm Andrew Savage, a partner in Vanguard Development. In terms of the neighborhood outreach, we have talked to the closest neighbors, both on the east side and the west side and behind the alley. We had a meeting that wasn't necessarily a public meeting, but some of the neighbors did show up and heard this proposal. We've talked to them individually. And in terms of the staff recommendation, we do really feel that 4 lots is the highest and best use of this land based on what Josh explained. But if 3 was a good compromise and what you all felt was the best, then we could move forward in that direction as well. Thank you.
Yes. Just a quick question for you, Mr. Yellen. Not trying to get you to zero in on where exactly you live, but you posed a scenario of that where you live being divided into 4. Just for context, can you kind of speak to the sizes of the lots in that vicinity? Because quite frankly, that's where I lie. That's where my decision is hinging on, because of the simple fact that there is a very consistent and distinct lot size within the immediate vicinity of this lot. So.
Yes, sir. So my house, the lot is significantly smaller, as are the neighbors, than the surrounding properties. Okay. Additionally, as compared to this proposal, the side yard setback that I have for my neighbor is about 8 feet, not the 19 that's proposed here. And I will say, from having lived there now for 5 years, I have not noticed my neighbor at all. Our windows were built in a way so that they don't align. We are not peering in each other's windows, seeing each other in the shower. They are a neighbor. We take care of the lot in between us. Everything has been great from that standpoint. So from that personal experience, that it has not caused a problem, even though it is vastly different than my neighbors on one side and on the other side.
Yeah, and that's, I just wanted to kind of, I guess, course correct and make sure that we're comparing apples to apples, understanding contextually that vicinity may be a little different than this immediate situation. So I
Yes.
appreciate you giving a little more insight.
Yes, sir, and this is the closest context that we have to the site, being the 2.5 blocks away, and I bring it up. I know the developers don't want me to show this image because our lot is bigger, and what they propose to develop would not necessarily be a two-story of, equal proportions that look very similar, just with a different porch on it. But this is close to the site, and our proposal will be significantly larger than that, which is why I bring it up.
Gotcha. I appreciate that.
I have a question, Mr. Chairman. Do you know what the side yard setback is for the houses that you're showing here? The
When-
311, 313?
I tried measuring it on Sagis, and I want to say it was 6 feet, but that wasn't accurate. It's the overhead aerial, so I might have clipped part of the roof in that, but it's tight.
Okay, great, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, we do have some speakers. We have more in person. We just have one online, so we're going to go ahead and get the one online knocked out. Mr. Hensley, Glenn Hensley. If you're there, please unmute your mic and state your name for the record. You have 2 minutes. Mr. Hensley, you need to unmute your mic, please. All right, we will move on to in person. We may come back around to Mr. Hensley. Oh, are you there, Mr. Hensley? Please state your name for the record, and you have 2 minutes.
Sure, my name is Glenn Hensley. I am a neighbor on Houston Street right behind the property. I really like to talk about the overview of the day, and I'm very big enough back about the street on. And then the MPC did such a great job with the presentation. Mr. Yellen has talked about the immediate vicinity. I have a presentation that I could show, but I can't show it, so I'm not going to show it, obviously. The immediate 9-block area is all 60-foot wide lots. It's hot. You go bigger area that's 60 feet wide. You get to the 2 lots in Cherry Coke, talk about this already. There's actually 2 other lots that are 45 feet the size of that, and they're out of mass and out of scale. So there's actually 4 lots that go into the 40s in the immediate area around Whole Park. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 area blocks, and then 6 blocks the other way. And there's actually 6 blocks that are 54 feet wide off of 58th Street that are appropriate in size. And I agree with the 3 lot density that they're proposing. It's a much nicer scale. And I will say that the MPC does have rights to say, come back with massing for the beginning of the hearing. Whether it's 3 and it's 4, I'll talk about what the 42-foot lot does. There's actually no 40-foot lot. Yeah, there's 2 30-foot lots. There is no 40-foot lot, 42-foot lot in the area. There's actually a group of homes around Washington and Water that are 45 foot wide, and those are more bungalow scale, meaning that they're only 1 story to story 100 rooms. I would say we have the right to say, they need to come back with massing to show the design before you allow them to do this. Going to 4 lots on this property is clearly not as well being anybody. It's going to be about 4 lots created by a developer.
Thank you, Mr. Hensley. That's your time. Thank you. All right, next up we have Maggie Miller. I'm sorry? Ms. Miller, you have 2 minutes.
Hey, I just want to say thank you so much to the board for being here and for taking the time to look at this issue.
Please state your name for the record.
Yes, my name is Maggie Miller. I live at 625 Columbus Drive, right next door to the property. I wanted to come up and speak to you guys, most importantly, because I'm somebody in the up-and-coming generations where these decisions are really going to start affecting us and how we buy houses and how we are able to afford housing. And I wanted to say as well that I just graduated college and I'm trying to figure out kind of where to settle down and where to start my life and my family. And I know that this goes against a lot of the zoning rules that we have in the area, and I'm really concerned at the fact that this was even proposed. I think it goes against a lot of the laws that are already established, and it goes against what the people have spoken up for. And I'd also like to say that I hope that y'all can make a decision in the best interest of the people who live here, as well as the people that are coming in and buying houses. There are currently 1,300 houses for sale in Chatham County, one of which is from that picture that is listed and referenced to on in the 300 block of Columbus Drive. And it's currently listed, it's a 2-story property. I'm not quite sure off the top of my head how many square feet it is, but it's currently listed for $745,000. So going under the guise of affordable housing and trying to make it more realistic for people like me to be able to afford a house doesn't really feel accurate. If they're saying that they're going to be making bigger houses than the one in the 300 block, that means it might be going for $1 million or over that. So I'm really concerned about the affordability of this, and I'd like for things to be more of an improvement rather than a tear down and a reconstruction of the new houses in Savannah. So I hope that y'all can take these things under consideration and respect the neighbors that are here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Miller.
Question? I have a
You
question.
have a question? Ms. Miller, you've got a question from the board. Please silence your phones, everyone.
Yes. How do you feel about the idea of 3 lots rather than 4 lots?
Well, I think it's definitely a lot better. It's still concerning. I think if we're going by the legal precedents that's been set here, 2 is definitely kind of the line. 2 is what's legal, and I think anything outside of that doesn't seem ethically correct.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Mr. Samick?
What is the size of your lot?
The size of our lot, I'm not entirely sure off the top of my head.
60.
60? Okay. And it's comfortable, but it's, not a ton of room. And I'd like to, if y'all don't mind, I'd love to go back to this picture of the lot for a second. Let's see. Let's go. Okay, so as you can see, there are a lot of trees in our neighborhood, and it's very beautiful, and I love it a lot. We have a lot of old oak trees that provide a lot of shade, both from the sun, and they provide a lot of drainage for the rain and the flooding issues that we have.
Let's make sure we're answering the question and not representing.
Sure. So I noticed that this lot does not have any trees. So that is probably why it stands out so much. It's one of the only lots in the neighborhood that does not have any trees. So if we put 4 houses on this lot and don't really plant any trees, then I think it'll still stand out pretty clearly from a map.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, next we have Ethan, looks like Waters? Please state your name for the record, and you have 2 minutes.
Hi, Ethan Waters, and good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm Ethan Waters, a Savannah resident. I'm speaking in support of the 4-home infill near the Columbus and Waters intersection. What I did is I dug into GDOT crash data. That was one of the concerns about this development was additional traffic, and what the crash data actually shows This is from 2013 through 2024 from GDOT. The Columbus corridor, all records mentioning Columbus, there have been 253 crashes total, about 21 per year on average, 22 injury crashes across the period, and 0 fatalities in this data set. So that's from pretty much an 11-year period. Columbus and Waters, records mentioning both Columbus and Waters, there's been 29 crashes total, about 2.6 per year, 0 fatalities in that data set. The tolls are low and stable year over year with the usual pandemic era fluctuations, but no significant structural rise. This is what 4 houses change. 4 single-family homes generate roughly about 40 daily trips total, about 3 to 4 trips in the peak hour. This is a rounding error next to existing volumes on Waters and the corridor. Crash frequency here is driven by turning speeds, sight lines, and markings, not a handful of added trips. The historical numbers at Columbus and Waters are already low. If we want fewer crashes at Columbus and Waters, here's what actually moves the needle: daylight the corners, refresh stop bars and crosswalks, and tighten turning speeds with paint and post curb extensions at the Columbus approaches to Waters. If speeding is detected mid-block, consider installing targeted speed cushions on the longest segments of Columbus. The bottom line, the corridor's long-run data does not support claims that 4 homes will increase crashes, where the average is 2 to 3 crashes per year with no recorded fatalities. I say please approve the project and pair it with the practical safety steps above. Thank you.
Next up, we have Jennifer Thomas.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Thomas. I live directly across the street at 620 Columbus Drive. I do oppose the 4 house buildings. I think the 30-foot lots. Our neighborhood is technically Olin Heights, and they keep referencing the 311 and 313 Columbus. That is technically not in Olin Heights. Originally, when those lots were sold, they were sold at 30-foot lots in hopes that people would buy multiple lots and build their houses, to which is what took place. Olin Heights was originally sold at 60-foot lots, and you could buy more, to which we have larger lots. I'm not opposed to the 3-lot. I think I would definitely be more for the 2-lot, which you wouldn't need a variance for. But I'm opposed to having 4 houses put there. I think it will not appeal to the neighborhood and cause additional issues.
Thank you, Ms. Thomas. Any questions for Ms. Thomas? All right, next up we have Nancy McKenzie.
Good afternoon, Chair, members of the board. My name is Nancy McKenzie. I live at 626 East 60th Street, the property directly across the lane behind the subject property. I strongly object to the board considering this or any similar proposal that would increase the number of houses that can be built on that lot. From my perspective, zoning is a law, not a guideline, and it can easily take 2 houses that could be built to conform to the neighborhood without requiring a variance, changing the character of the neighborhood, or straining the surrounding infrastructure, which is an important consideration. You're adding more concrete and less runoff area, and we already flood badly in that area. The developers didn't hold a neighborhood meeting at a neutral location. They made a presentation at a YIMBY meeting, but the Olin Heights neighbors were not really informed of that, and there were only a couple of us who managed to show up. So as far as I'm concerned, they didn't fulfill that requirement. They haven't really provided details of their intentions for the property. They did show those 2 houses, and at 2-story houses, that personally affects me in a very significant way, because the backs of those houses at 2 stories have windows all the way across that would look down directly into my backyard. I'm the only person who has this issue because I'm the one with the backyard behind them. And I cherish my privacy. I have a pool and an area of outdoors that I absolutely love. And I understand that's nobody's problem but mine, but it's a big problem to me because that impacts the value of my house and the reasons why I bought in this neighborhood. It's a lovely, quiet neighborhood, wide-spaced houses, tree-lined streets, and the proposal that's being made here will really turn that around and damage what is already existing, particularly for me. So I know it's personal, but it's very personal to me. There are 17 more comments that didn't make the record. Can I give a list of those to be put into the record in addition to the comments that are already there?
I believe that we've received all the email correspondence that was brought in.
I know of people personally who told me that they sent emails that are not on the record, so. And there are neighbors as well who have the same issue. So there were quite a few names that did not make it into the permanent record, so there was much more opposition to this than what you have listed.
I would suggest that if folks, those individuals contact us about that, because if it's not them individually, it's hearsay that they sent it in. So please have them contact us and
Okay.
make sure.
So if they didn't see it on the record, they should send it in?
Exactly. Yes, they should reach out.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. McKenzie.
If I may, I'm not sure where they emailed their opposition to.
Okay.
But-
May not be opposition, but.
Or opposition or support.
Okay.
But I would just say that, you could ask them to either send it to staff, which would be Ms. Helms, which would be helms@thempc.org.
Okay.
And we can make sure that that is in the record as this item moves forward.
Okay. I'll have them do that. Thank you very
And
much.
just as a reminder, we are a recommendation body. Next up, we have Laura Lane McKinnon.
Sorry, minor correction, Mr. Chair. In this instance, this board will grant a variance. Should this be approved, it will be the final decision maker.
Thank you, Mr. Morrow.
Good afternoon. For the record, my name is Laura Lane McKinnon, and I live on the 600 block of East 58th, just one block north of this address. I'm here to speak in strong support of the proposed variance for this project. I've read all of the objections submitted, and I want to be clear, I understand that change can be unsettling, but this proposal does not threaten the character or value of our neighborhood. It reflects thoughtful, appropriate infill that aligns with both the letter and the intent of Savannah's development goals. First, this project does not violate the spirit of the zoning ordinance. It fulfills it. The goal of RS6 is to create stable, well-designed neighborhoods with access to light, air, open space. The proposed homes will meet those standards through thoughtful site planning, appropriate setbacks, and compatible design. This is not an overreach. It's an appropriate infill project that respects the neighborhood's scale while adding much-needed housing. Second, this parcel is indeed unique. It's larger than most in the neighborhood and perfectly suited for modest subdivision. Suggesting that 2 new homes would be acceptable but 4 would somehow erode property values or character is not supported by evidence or real-world outcomes in other similar neighborhoods. Across Savannah, small-scale infill has improved property values, stabilized aging housing stock, and brought new investment to established neighborhoods. Third, the assumption that every request for a variance is financially motivated misses the larger point. Small-scale development like this is exactly how older neighborhoods evolve and remain viable. It's also misguided to frame that every project like this is financially motivated. The reality is that these small builders who invest locally, hire locally, and live here are exactly the kind of people we should be encouraging. Profit is not a dirty word when it produces well-built housing, strengthens our tax base, and revitalizes underused land. Fourth, the idea that approving this variance would grant special privilege is incorrect. Property owners shouldn't be punished for reinvesting in our community simply because the zoning code hasn't kept pace. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McKinnon.
I had more, but any questions?
Any questions for Ms. McKinnon? Thank you. Ms. Donna McLaurin? Please state your name for the record, then you have 2 minutes.
My name is Donna K. McLaurin. I'm Maggie's mom. I live next door to the property. And I want that bell, that 2-minute bell to use when she's talking to me. The first thing I'd like to say is I appreciate you all being here listening to us. I'd like to tell you that right after the property sold, the 2 investors came over and introduced themselves to me. And we started talking, and it was friendly, and they're delightful. There's no doubt about that. Very, very nice men. But they eventually got to the point where they told me that they were going to be building more than 2 houses on that lot. And my remark was, well, it's only 2 lots. It's zoned for 2 houses. And I said, so the law is the law? And one of them said to me, well, there are ways to get around the law. And so my first thought was, I will not be bringing baked goods across the property line anymore. And my second thought was, you guys are what we have to protect us from this kind of thinking. And if you don't do that, then this will just, the next place is going to be, can we get 5 houses? Can we get 6 houses? Can I mow my house down and put up 4 houses? I mean, the zoning laws are there for a reason. So either they mean something or they don't. And I think it'd be nice if you send a message that they actually do mean something. For the people who already have property, for the people who are coming in behind them, they need these assurances. And for the sake of the builders, they need to know where they stand too before they put $435,000 on a tear-down lot.
Thank you, Ms. McMillan. That's your time.
Thank you.
We have a question.
I think we've asked others the same question. What do you think about the 3 lots instead of the 4?
I go back, I mean, either the laws we have are there for a reason, and it was thoughtful when they were made. So to say, more people want to come to Savannah, so let's forget about the people who are here, I don't think that's responsible. And I would appreciate it if you would not just think about who we don't know, but who we do know. We're here. You know us. And so to look out for people who haven't arrived yet, I heard the numbers that Georgia Tech put out. Maybe they should have gotten them from Clemson, and the numbers would probably be more accurate.
All right, Ms. McGloin.
But anyway,
The question was specifically the 3 versus 4.
Okay. So no, I'd like for you to abide by the zoning laws that we have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Lori Broyles.
I have a presentation, and I'm going to need some help getting that up, if you don't mind.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
How you doing?
Thank you. I appreciate your help.
Yeah, absolutely. That was me who emailed you earlier.
I don't know how I'm going to follow that up.
What do you mean?
Donna Kay.
Oh,
She's a comedian.
delightful. Delightful family, I can tell. Is this you?
That was me.
Yeah. And I think you can advance.
Is it in the, how do you put it in the,
Right.
how do you put it in the?
Full screen. Let's do start slideshow. Okay, I did one right. There you go.
Thank you,
can
I
hit right
appreciate
buttons.
it. Okay, thank you. Okay, hello, everyone. I'm Lori Broyles. I'm a Savannah resident, pretty new to Savannah, but I'm from Atlanta. I'm a retired attorney. Did not think this is how I was going to be spending my retirement, but here we are. I love Savannah, and a lot of the things that we've heard extolled about this community, I feel about downtown where I live. And so I think things that are going on here are precedential for the entire city. You know, as Donna Kay mentioned, what's next if we allow people to chip away at the law? And, you know, as an attorney, when I face a new problem, the place that I start is the law. So there's been a lot of talk about policy. There's been a lot of talk about, well, what are the future needs? But all of that, while that's laudable and does have to be considered, it has to operate within the context of the law. So what is being requested here today are a variance to lot area and a variance to width. Here's the enabling statute. This is in the zoning ordinance. Variances are allowed. They are not the norm. It is a deviation from the norm for a special purpose. Okay? The zoning law goes on to say that certain things are not variable. And in the case of things that are not variable, those applications should not even be processed when they come downtown with them. Then we move on in the section that addresses variances that are prohibited. Specifically says there shall not be a variance granted to permit a lot area less than the minimum lot area that attaches to the zoning. This is RFS 6. 6,000 square feet is the minimum lot area. 60 feet is the minimum width. I don't even know why we're here. You know, this should have not even been processed, much less put on an agenda for your consideration. What is being proposed now, staff's recommendation is like, well, they came in here with an illegal application, so let's throw them something. Let's give them 3. How about 3? Well, I posit that if the developer wishes to request for that, they can do that, but there's been no public notice, no plan, and I request that you dismiss this, and they can start over with that plan if that's what they wish to pursue at this time.
Thank you, Mrs. Burrows. Is there any questions? Folks, please, let's leave the applause. Are there any questions for Mrs. Burrows? All right, next we've got 2 more that have raised their hands online. Callum Crampton. If you're online, please unmute yourself. You have 2 minutes.
Am I able to be heard?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead. You have 2 minutes. Please state your name for the record.
My name is Calvin Cratchit. I'm voicing opposition to the proposal. Many of the things the previous speaker hit on, and I would double down on that as well. She mentioned the law. Excuse me. In the law, there's also another concept of stare decisis. Respect previous decisions. We should remember why there was a minimum set in the first place. There was an existing plan when this neighborhood, which used to not exist at some point in time. At some point in time, it was just natural landscape. There was a plan then, and we should respect that the minimum be maintained. And I will end with that.
Thank you, Mr. Crampton. Any questions for Mr. Crampton? Nope. All right, the last speaker card that I have is Caitlin Montanez. If you're online, please unmute your microphone, and you have 2 minutes. Please state your name for the record.
Hi, my name is Caitlin Montanez. I'm a resident on Columbus Drive. Thank you for the time today. I wanted to follow up on Donna's comments just about kind of the spirit in which this project has been shared with the community. And Nancy also spoke to this as well, but the NIMBY meeting, which I guess is counting for the community meeting, I believe Vanguard Development was added as like a last minute sub on the meeting agenda, so not really allowing ample time for people to know about the meeting and participate accordingly. And also, unfortunately, Vanguard Development allowed NIMBY to present the project as contributing to a more walkable neighborhood, as well as offering affordable housing. And considering the project is mid-block on a street with no sidewalks, I have a hard time seeing how it contributes to more walkable community. And one of the houses that Mr. Yellen cited previously is actually on the market for, I believe, $745 or $749. I have to double check. And I have a hard time seeing how something comparable would also contribute to affordable housing in Savannah. So just wanted to add those comments as we think about the spirit in which this project is being undertaken.
Thank you, Ms. Montanez. Any questions for Ms. Montanez? No? All right, that's all the speaker cards that I have. Mr. Yellen, would you like to come up and rebut?
Thank you again for giving us the time to speak. I know we've heard some supporters and some detractors against this project. I do just want to discuss what we have heard so far. First and foremost, I heard a comment about there being houses for sale on the market and that therefore we should not be approving of new housing in Savannah. I frankly disagree with that assumption. This property and housing market in general, we do not control that. What I see on a day-to-day basis is that we see a lot of people sitting on the sidelines waiting for interest rates to drop, waiting for houses to come down, which means or housing prices to come down, which means we need to build more housing, and we also need some action that's outside of our control from the federal government. When those things happen, people will start jumping back into the game and buying more houses. The studies that were cited, they were participated in, they were brought to you by the City of Savannah, by Chatham County, by Effingham County, by Bryan County. This was a comprehensive study, and by CETA, that was looked at to determine the needs for our community. This wasn't, oh, let's make up a study to encourage more housing development. It was, no, we need to look at the realities of what we have in the city and in the region. We need to see who is moving to the area, what can we do to provide additional housing. And I know some of my words might be being minced as to affordable housing or not. My statement is that all housing helps affordable housing. Not that we are building affordable housing here. We are trying to increase the housing stock in the city of Savannah. And every little increase, and I'm not sure why increasing and providing housing is funny to some people here, but we should be encouraging housing across the community of all price ranges, affordable, workforce, luxury. Every little bit helps the community. As it relates to infrastructure, we heard some of those concerns as well. What's actually counterintuitive about this proposal is that by adding more lot lines, you increase your setback and decrease your developable area on the property. By adding the lot lines, we actually take away from the pervious materials that could come in because we are forced to make the building smaller. With one big lot and large lot coverage, we could come in and actually increase that. By dividing it up, we have to set it back across itself. Lastly, as to the housing variances that were discussed, I do want to thank staff because that was in fact the first item that was addressed as to this agenda item, that this has been determined that these variances can move forward. As I cited in my petition or in my presentation to y'all have recently approved at least 4 of these that I can count in the past 4 months, but I did not go back and look all the way back as to what variances have been approved. I do believe that we have met the criteria for this variance. We have showed the need, we have shown that this is the minimum variance necessary to achieve these goals, and we have demonstrated that this is in compliance with the ordinance. I know that Andrew came up here before. We are pushing for this 4-lot subdivision. We think that this does the most good for the city of Savannah. But as Andrew mentioned, we do appreciate the staff report and that they would be willing to accept that 3-lot subdivision as well. And so we do thank you for your time. We know that this is a difficult decision to make. We are all trying to do that we can for the city of Savannah to help the city grow and thrive and to do it in a meaningful and thoughtful way. So I do thank you all for y'all's deliberations on this item.
Any questions from the board? Any discussion? Mr. Stevens?
I guess first and foremost, I really appreciate everybody's participation from a community standpoint. This is an example of what should happen when a community has concerns about what's happening in their neighborhood. Now to kind of get down to some of the facts of this scenario, as indicated when I asked my initial question to Mr. Yellen, just to kind of get some more contextual basis to really inform this decision. We are in a housing crisis, and we do have a lot of people that are trying to become home buyers, independent of the interest rates that none of us have control over. So as a agency, as a body that is supposed to be aligning and helping further our city's visions and goals, I think we have to consider these things and be serious about the consideration. To that point, I don't think this community has enough erosion, if you will, of its original fabric to say that 4 lots makes sense, reducing it down to 40-something feet or smaller. I wholeheartedly hear you, community. I'm right there with you. How, on the contrary, 56 feet is not far from the 60 feet that is vicinity that is within the vicinity. And to that point, it also helps this developer not deviate from the square footage of the lot, because the 56 by the 108 lots is roughly a little over 6,000. So there's not a major departure, and it starts to give both entities some of what they really want. I just really wanted to kind of speak to that and kind of help the community understand the basis of some of these decisions and how we arrive at them. I hear you, and I understand exactly where you are as far as trying to protect your interests in the community, but I personally feel like this could be of a value added to the community. And that's really, I just want to kind of submit that for consideration across this body, as well as for the community consider, for not only now, but for things that may come.
Mr. Blunt?
Yeah, I'll go along with Mr. Stevens that it's not always easy to split the baby on something like this, but on this specific case, it seems like we have a developer that wants to do 4 but can live with 3, and then a lot of neighbors, some in support, some in opposition, but of the ones in opposition, I think a good number of them said they would prefer 2 but could live with 3. So it seems like maybe 3 is something that everyone can live with, and no one's thrilled about it, but that is kind of the heart of compromise, so that's kind of the way I'm leaning on this.
Mr. Melder?
Sometimes we have very specific zoning issues that seem to take on like the brunt of the spear for all of our community's issues. Are we preserving our neighborhoods? Are we doing enough to create more room for others and expand our housing inventory? To both of those points, I don't know that this project is the turning point on either one of them. I think there's obviously room for modest density in this parcel, as it was 2 parcels to begin with. Maybe 4's a bridge too many, maybe not. So 56 feet, doesn't seem to be a detriment necessarily to me. The other point I just want to kind of say is we're in the kind of a period of public process, and what is public process, and a lot of talk about law today is this is following the law. We have a zoning ordinance, we have processes that people have to go through to make changes or to appeal to that, and the fact that we have so many members of the public in here today voicing their opinions to a public body appointed by our elected officials to adjudicate this process is following the law, and I want to applaud everybody who is participating in that. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mulder. I kind of wanted to echo that variances are part of the law. They are not extrajudicial. They're in the law for a reason. So you're not violating the law by applying for a variance. But on a different point, as someone that's been affected by development close by, I do want to just say to the YIMBY folks in the audience, it tends to bristle community members when they hear that developers are talking to YIMBY before they're talking to the neighbors who are going to be affected. So I would very much recommend it to any developers that might be listening right now, if you're looking to do a project, speak to the neighbors and then speak to YIMBY, not the other way around, because then it feels like the neighbors are just being ignored. Any other discussion from the board? All right, then I'll open the floor for a motion.
Stevens, I move to accept staff's alternative recommendation to reduce the minimum lot width required from 60 feet to 56 feet for 3 lots.
Second by Joe Welch.
All right, Ms. Amick?
Yes.
Ms. Bowles?
Yes.
Ms. Jarrett?
Yes.
Mr. Kagan?
Yes.
Mr. Melder?
Yes.
Mr. Matrika?
Yes.
Mr. Plunk?
Yes.
Ms. Ross?
Yes.
Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
Mr. Welch?
Yes.
Mr. Wyland?
Yes.
I too vote yes, the motion carries. Thank you all for participating in this conversation. All right, next up, we have the text amendment, and I think we're presenting these together, the text and map amendment for hotel development overlay.
Sit over here, the staff table. Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. This is Edward Morrow again, Director of Development Services. I would like to address this board jointly today about these 2 petitions, both related to amendment of Section 7.13 of the zoning ordinance, which is the hotel development overlay. Specifically, the petitioners who are the leaders of the three, I'll call them the lower three, historic districts, excluding the landmark district, to extend the boundaries of the hotel development overlay to the Victorian, Streetcar, and Cala Brownville historic districts. Were that map to be changed, specifically related to the map, you could see presently this is the existing portion. It would then include these three local historic districts. Just to offer everyone a brief overview of how the HDO presently works. Currently, it coincides largely with the boundaries, or completely includes the landmark historic district. It goes just beyond. And what it does is it distinguishes two separate categories of hotels, small and large. Small hotels begin at 16 rooms and go up to 74. At 75 guest rooms, a hotel is distinguished as large. Large hotels' appropriateness are designated within the green areas on the map you see. Those that are appropriate for small, indicated by the yellow. The pink areas, no hotel development is permitted. And the appropriate rights of way that these parcels are permitted to front for hotel development are indicated as the thick red outlines that you see. A parcel must have one of those permitting colors as well as that red outline in order to currently be developed as a hotel. And so this petition originally came before this board. You can see the parcels that are impacted by this request, those that would currently permit some form of hotel, either by right or through grant of a special use permit. Everything in yellow is a parcel within these districts that would be impacted by this. There are about 653 of them, and a total acreage of about 114.42 acres within the scope of this. I think it's important to identify that hotels are the only form of commercial lodging establishment that is addressed by this HTO extension. There are some others that are permitted within the zoning ordinance, the bed and breakfast homestay, bed and breakfast, as well as inns. None of those are considered within this request. The only thing that were this request to be approved, were it granted, that would be excluded are hotels. Again, establishments beginning at 16 rooms. And so you can see here presently our current regulatory scheme requires that the bulk of these properties would receive a special use permit. If you are zoned TC1 or TC2, a small hotel may be established through grant of a special use permit, which would be granted by the mayor and alderman. There are presently no limiting use conditions that are associated with those other than the special use standards that would be applied for any special use. Large hotels are not permitted within TC. There are two parcels that are currently zoned OI and E, which is office and institutional expanded. Within those districts, large hotels are permitted by right. I will say that in all three iterations of those iterations of the revision put forth by the city, these two parcels are proposed to be addressed such that no hotels would be permitted on them. And so that is something that regardless of the option that's chosen, this would no longer be an option. Within the proposed expansion area, hotels are not permitted in the TN, TR, BN, or conservation preservation districts. Again, so the districts that we're concerned about are TC1, TC2, and the existing OI and E zoning district. You can see the principal use table on your screen here. At present, these are the districts that we are concerned about with that S. And again, that indicates that even at present, establishment of a hotel within one of these zoning districts requires grant of a special use permit from City Council. To offer you all a brief timeline of the events, this board requested the continuance of the petition to allow for additional public notice and review in July of 2023. In September, a stakeholder process was initiated. At that time, interviews were conducted by the respective neighborhood leaders. Also going through the process, the Tourism Leadership Council, the Chamber of Commerce, the Downtown Business Association, Downtown Neighborhood Association, Historic Savannah Foundation, and Housing Authority Savannah, as well as hotel property owners and others who were impacted were engaged during this process. There were a series of meetings. The city did, at the recommendation of this body, hire a consultant to produce a report. I was present at many of those meetings. And so here we are today discussing the outcomes and ultimately the neighborhood's request. And so these are the consultant produced scenarios that were considered. You can see that several of these focus on key corridors that are in this area, Martin Luther King, Henry Anderson, the Bull Street corridor, combinations of these. And you can see that through the bulk of these three districts, no hotels would have been permitted considering any of these scenarios. And again, there was a consideration of 16 to 40 unit hotels, which is a boutique classification that does not presently appear within our principal use table or zoning ordinance. It was a new boutique hotel designation that was considered. And the neighborhoods resoundingly rejected all of these proposals, both individually by neighborhood or considered by corridor. That is what the red that you see on these survey results indicates. And so in analyzing all of this data, I know that there are many people who will offer you deep insight into their perspective. In looking at this, for me, it came down to an argument of character versus form. Many of these folks felt as though the residential character of their neighborhoods was under threat. However, as I considered STVRs in particular and the fact that lodging uses are rather abundant within this district, it became evident that it was likely not residential character that was a concern, but form for the most part. When we think about it, and in looking at this STVR map, many of our residences already double as both a residence and a lodging establishment in some sense, if you'll recall those that are presently there. When we think of frequent guest turnover, this is a characteristic that is inconsistent with a residential character of neighborhood. And yet this is a neighborhood where inviting people into your home because your home doubles as a lodging establishment is a common practice, as you can see from this map. What we see from this allowance is that gradually there are changes in the types of businesses that are within these neighborhoods because they tend to serve tourists rather than residents. We would expect after-school programs, we would expect recreational facilities, we would expect dry cleaners and butchers and things of that nature. But instead, we will begin to see these neighborhoods fill with establishments that serve the tourists that visit there. I will say that a neighborhood plan would effectively give some credence to these concerns in that a neighborhood planning process would comprehensively consider all the needs of a neighborhood and create spaces for them. So again, the study that we received, while effective, was not necessarily substantive with regard to substantiating the request of the neighborhoods. Staff hangs largely to the opinion that the zoning and historic overlay design standards will protect form. If this continues, obviously everything that is built will be subject to zoning development standards as well as the historic overlay design standards requiring a certificate of appropriateness. So the form will remain. There were several assumptions that this request is based on that I felt were important to call out. First, that inappropriate hotel development is an imminent threat within these identified districts. Based on the city staff produced report, there are 6 hotels that are presently under review. There are none of which staff is aware within the 3 lower districts that are petitioned for expansion of the HTO at present. The second one, prohibition of hotels would result in greater focus on housing for long-term residents and resident-centric business activity within the identified districts. I'll take you back to this map to show at Eastern Wharf, here at this location, these are new residences that are already functioning as STVRs in some capacity. So even when new residences are developed, they will often be petitioned by those owners to function as short-term vacation rentals in some form. The third one, other non-hotel land uses are not a threat to the preservation of residential or historic character. Again, the only thing that was considered within the scope of this study was hotel uses. We did not look at housing. We did not look at demographics. We did not look at the economics or the impact of those existing uses on the character of this area. This was largely a zoning exercise. And finally, the current regulations and legislative process fail to adequately protect the integrity of the historic districts and its residential character is ultimately one of the most fundamental assumptions that this petition raises. And so with that, I would like to show you the other options. There were 3 options that came out of the city staff study. This is option 2, which would have placed small hotels fronting Henry and Anderson Streets. And this is option 3, which is the petitioner's request, which would completely prohibit hotel development within this area. MPC staff concurs with city staff in that option 1 is likely the most reasonable alternative, and that this would maintain the special use protection where hotels would be permitted. This would reduce the scale of any hotel from 74 to a maximum of 40 rooms. Again, that is down from what would currently be allowed if a hotel were approved by City Council through that special use permit process. And finally, and most importantly, this is consistent with the clear corridor and node development pattern along MLK and Bull, and we can see a developing node at Victory and Bull Streets. And personally, I believe this would form a great basis for a neighborhood plan across this area to understand the evolving land uses. With that, MPC staff does recommend denial of the petitioner's request in favor of option 1. And there are 2 modifications that staff would like to offer as ideas to this board for consideration as we modify this text potentially. The first is that the draft section 8436 commercial use standards, as they presently indicate, would require a potential hotel to be a mixed-use development. Particularly given that the maximum allowable footprint in the TC1 zoning district is relatively small at 5,500 square feet. It might be a good idea to permit a bonus story, or in essence, this provision should probably be struck because of impracticability, in essence. This is not necessarily a recommendation that these 2 be tied, but rather to eliminate it to eliminate it ideally, or to add this provision if this will continue to be a requirement that the ground floor be a mixed-use development. I would like to raise this particular site as an example. This is a location at West Duffy and Bull Street that many of us are familiar with. This is the one potential hotel site that came in during my time here at MPC, and it came in with 16 rooms on its 2nd floor. The petitioner was notified that a hotel required a special use permit and instead opted to remove a single room and to move forward with the petition as an inn. But this is a great adaptive reuse of a building that, were it surveyed today, would likely be regarded as contributing. And we can see that it's an 8,000 square foot footprint, again, with 16 rooms would have been comfortable. It has ground floor commercial uses. And so when we begin to attempt to account for all of the development requirements on a parcel when it comes to developing a hotel, there are a number of development requirements, including parking. This is an area that, unlike downtown, those commercial uses are not exempt from parking. There are reductions, but there is not an outright exemption. And so being mindful of that, if this option were to be extended to property owners, being thoughtful of the idea that they would then also have to cope with that use of the ground floor as mixed use, this would be something that would potentially compensate for that. The second modification that staff would recommend is taking a preservation first posture. And so that would be to allow potentially for any contributing structure across our local historic districts to be petitioned to City Council to be converted for small hotel use. Again, 16 to 40 rooms for contributing structures. Buildings that can be, buildings should be adaptively reused as long as they are preserved and maintained in good standing. And so we have lots of properties across our districts that are currently suffering from demolition by neglect. And so if preservation is our first priority in these as local historic districts, then it would make sense to allow them to be converted first. And of course, we are aware that many of these buildings live multiple lives over the course of their standing wherever they're constructed. And so with that, MPC staff is happy to answer any questions that you may have.
My understanding is we have 3 presenters for the petition?
That is correct.
Okay, so in the endeavor of being timely and allowing our 20 speaker cards to come up and speak, if we could allocate 10 minutes for each of the petitioners for a total of 30 minutes petitioner's time. And if one petitioner wants to yield their time to one of the other petitioners, that's fine. We just want to kind of keep.
There you go. That's what I was going to ask for. Thank you.
Yep.
I'd like to make a point of order
And also, just before you get started, Mr. Combs, if you have a device that makes noise, please silence it. It's very distracting for the petitioners as well as for people making comments. Please silence your devices.
This is appalling. This building that
Please
is
state your
sitting
name
here on
for
this
the record.
slide being used by Edward
Mr. Combs,
Morrow.
please state your name for the record.
Jason Combs, Vice President of Thomas Square. I was the president when we started all this. I will give a little more introduction since we're doing this here today. I also hold a master's degree in city planning, just like Edward. We were actually at Tech together. In addition to that, I have a master's degree in urban design. In addition to that, I've been published in the academic journal, the American Journal of Economics and Sociology, on the subject of gentrification. So I'm well versed in neighborhood economics. But let's get back to this photo. Edward Morrow has used this as an example of a building that will benefit from what they are recommending. This building is owned by Jeff Natriga, who is sitting right here on this commission and who has not recused himself.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is not a concert. We do not applause. This is an equal forum
You guys
for
just swore
petitioners.
yourselves in today to uphold what you were supposed to do on this committee. Whose authority is it to make him recuse himself when he obviously has a conflict of interest in this? And of those 600 and whatever properties, I know he owns about 10 more as well.
Mr. Combs, you were here to present your petition. If Mr. Natriga chooses to recuse himself, that will be his decision to make.
So it's not in your bylaws that he's required to recuse himself?
That is his decision to make if he had a financial interest in this and if the executive director would like to speak.
I just basically wanted this to remind everybody that we are a recommending body. We don't make the final decision. That final decision is made by the city of Savannah. I did check with legal on this issue. Mr. Natriga, should he decide to recuse himself, he can, but he has no final, technically no financial interest.
He has no financial interest.
I'm just telling you what I got from legal. Whether you agree with it or not is totally
I
irrelevant.
definitely disagree, and I think everyone here does too.
That's fine. I'm just letting you know. Remember, we are a recommending body.
let me
We do
know. I'll
not-
continue now. Thank
We
you.
do not make the final decision.
And ladies and gentlemen, let's keep this civil, please. We don't need to
That's
go
right. This isn't
into
supposed
This goes to the
territory
point
here.
of you guys telling us we should trust your process. Really? We should trust your process. We have enough protections already. Okay, sure. All right. Back to our regularly scheduled program. One thing that bothered me about the way this is presented is that, we showed up with this first. This was a citizen-initiated petition. Why are we option number 3? This isn't just semantics. This comes into what's called cognitive bias. There have been 3 Nobel Prizes given out in the 21st century about these little tricks in our mind that we can't control that affect us. One is called the framing effect. You allow yourself to be unduly influenced by context and delivery. The second one is anchoring. The first thing you judge influences your judgment on all that follows. So the city putting, or the MPC putting, the option that benefits hotels the most first does matter. And also, I will make the point, Edward Morrow said that the city was recommending option 1. The city has not. Can I get confirmation on that? Because I believe Bridget Liddy was directly asked that when she presented, and she declined to say the city had any preference on one of the options.
The city report presents 3 available options.
Correct. And they did not prefer number 1 like Edward Morrow said.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. So I would like to rebrand option 3 as option 0. Because we were first, we were the original, O for 0, O for no hotels. All right? So this is option 0, we're first. Next, I would like to go into some myths and misconceptions that have been out there in the public. Is Burt Brantley in the house of Chamber of Commerce? He was on WSAV last night saying that our neighborhood is anti-business, anti-development, and wants to stifle commercial activity. I would give him, if he's here, the straw man card. Everyone should know straw man argument. Misrepresenting someone's argument to make it easier to attack. We are not anti-business, we are not anti-development, we are not commercial activity. We actually love our neighborhood for its commercial activity, places like the Wormhole, Lone Wolf Lounge, etc. And also, we've built hundreds of residential units in large buildings. We're not anti-development. So that is, maybe Bert's just doing that so he doesn't look like he's just shilling for hotels, so he can look like he's protecting businesses. But because we're using the hotel development overlay, we are targeting hotels. Yes, that one thing. We don't want to stifle any kind of other development. Second myth, process. It's been said several times and is even written in the MPC report that we refuse to compromise. That's a little ridiculous that we had a 2-year process, that when Bridget Liddy talked about it, we were complimented by both her and the city manager for how well we worked together. I'm sorry a compromise didn't come out of it, but we certainly didn't show up saying no compromise. We worked at it for 2 years. We came up with that 40-room definition, we put it back to our citizens, and they didn't like it. Sorry. We did try to compromise, though. We spent a very long time doing that. Third, there's been some misconceptions about outcome. I've seen it written in the letter from TLC twice that if this was passed, there's really no difference. Actually, there is. Look at the agenda sitting right in front of you. Items 9 and 10 say text amendment and map amendment. If this is passed, then anyone that wants to do a hotel has to come in and get a text amendment and a map amendment before going through the existing process of the special use permit. And Tom, I'm sorry I don't know how to say your last name. How do you say it? How? Well, okay. You said that you were worried about property rights being taken away. Even with the complete prohibition put through, people can still come through and ask for a hotel. The existing HDO has been altered twice, once by Mr. McCorkle and once by Mr. Yellen's father for the Menger Building and for Cohen Street. So if you come to us with a great project, we can still make an alteration to the HDO to allow it. It just gives us more oversight. So going on to the staff report. One thing they bring up is consistency. This is very consistent with the existing zoning because we're using a tool that's already there, the HDO, which was put in place in 2018 and then made part of new zone in 2019. So it makes a lot of sense if we only want to talk about hotels to use the tool that's sitting right there. And also in 2017, one thing that Mr. Morrow left out is his presentation, this body, the MPC, did a hotel study that recommended extending that original HDO all the way to Victory and to not allowing hotels through most of Victoria and Thomas Square. Kyla Brownville was not included in that. So we already have a study recommending that from 2017 from this body. Next, I want to talk about Edward's long list of extra proof he'd like. I want to do one more thing first. Circumstances. And again, Tom, this is something you brought up not only today, but at the previous presentation Bridget Liddy did, that there's no evidence of hotels wanting to go into our neighborhoods. There might not be any official notice, but I've lived in the neighborhood for 20 years. I've been involved with the board for 10. I was the president for about 3 before this. And you're a real estate agent, I think. Before people start doing stuff, they start talking, they start nosing around, they send surrogates out. I know for a fact there's at least 4 or 5 different parties who want to put a hotel somewhere in Victorian or Thomas Square. So it is coming, and that's exactly why we are doing this. Me and Ryan Madsen, who's not here because he's sick, we're having a conversation talking about that we both knew that people were nosing around wanting to do hotels, and we decided to get ahead of it. And also, Edward talked about how we're only dealing with hotels here today and not other lodging issues. It was always our intention to work our way down the ladder, starting with hotels. But this has taken 2 years because all the can kicking that's happened with this. But once we're done with this, we do intend to then address other lodging issues, including STVRs. Also, it talks about how a zoning change like this can be due to an error. I would say not following the MPC's suggestions from 2817 and making the HDO go all the way to Victory was an error, and we intend to fix that error today by doing this, option 0. Again, I'll talk about, Edward repeated the staff report, the thing about how we had rejected compromise, and I'll read the actual language from it, because I'll tell you how I would have written it. We had the 5 scenarios that were shown up there. All such scenarios were rejected by neighborhood leadership in favor of the results of resident surveys calling for total prohibition of hotel development. That kind of makes it sound like the survey was just something we did on our own and decided to go with instead. The survey was always a part of the process. I made the survey. I took graduate stats at Tech, just like he did. It was a very good survey that even Michael Owens thought was great and accepted the results of. And I even sent it to him for approval before it went out. So the survey was an integral part of this, and we always said we couldn't make a compromise that our residents didn't support. We tried, we put it forth, they didn't support it. I would have written it this way. All such scenarios were presented as options, but they were rejected by the residents of the neighborhoods, and the neighborhood leaders communicated this back to the stakeholder roundtable. Next, we have, like I said, all the evidence that Edward now wants, 2 years later. We tabled this 2 years ago because we wanted more stakeholder input. So I would say that this is what's called special pleading, otherwise known as moving the goalposts. If we needed all this extra information, asked for it 2 years ago, not 4 days in a report that you dropped before this hearing. Also, burden of proof. Edward can't prove that what we're doing is bad, so he instead asks us to prove that it's good. That's also a fallacy, by the way, when you just put the burden of proof on someone else.
Mr. Combs, you have 30 more seconds unless...
30 more seconds, all right. Well,
unless someone else is willing to yield their time to you.
You give me some time? 5 minutes?
I'll give you 5 minutes.
5 minutes. Okay. So again, when he's talking about needing this extra information, he forgot to mention the 2017 MPC study that recommended taking this hotel development overlay all the way to victory. The study's been done by his own organization. Finally, I'm not going to talk too much about this because other people are here to talk about it. When they tried to stick in these extra things to grant relief to hotels, there's only one word for it. It's perverted. Because we started this to protect our neighborhood from hotels. And to take something and turn it against its own purpose is the definition of perverted. Those are perverted suggestions. So, go back to option 0. We know what we want. We put the survey out there. We proved it. We did the process. Give us the relief from hotel development. And again, it can still happen if somebody comes to us with a great idea. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I am Nancy Maya. I am the president of the Victorian Neighborhoods Association. I'm just going to reiterate a couple of points that have been already made. And the first is the idea that the protection provided by the HDO extension is no different than what already exists within the special use permitting process. And this is simply not based on fact. The process for obtaining an exception to the HDO, which Jason has referred to, has already happened before, would require multiple public hearings, and we would hope would also encourage collaboration between any developer and the neighborhood to ensure that what was being proposed brings a positive impact to both residents and surrounding businesses. A special use permit requires the neighborhoods to be ever vigilant. Often, noticing signage put up just 2 weeks in advance of a hearing is the only way to stay aware and to be able to react. We believe implementing the HDO takes the burden of proof off of the residents who have to argue why something should not be approved and puts it on the developer who would need to provide evidence of why it should be approved. We also believe this potentially moves us to a more proactive planning process with regards to development in our neighborhoods. We've all acknowledged that hotels and development opportunities in our neighborhoods for hotels is not an if, but a when. And we're just asking for greater protection and more control. Secondly, we have highlighted from the outside the very real economic impact hotels can bring to our neighborhoods. A hotel is an apex predator, offering the highest of potential in real estate value. It therefore has immediate and potentially devastating impacts on property values, taxes, and rents in a surrounding area, not to mention the inevitable trappings that come with traveler expectations. An obvious example would be the old Sears building, or even the 2 lots across from Drayton from the Sears building that have recently been combined and rezoned to be hotel-ready. You may recall that the neighborhoods vehemently opposed that. As an illustration of economic impact, these lots went from a couple of $100,000 prior to rezoning to being put on the market for just under $6 million a few days after. If either of those were to become a hotel and property values and rents subsequently increase, all of our beloved local small businesses could potentially be at risk. Ultimately, it isn't hard to imagine that the sentient bean becomes a Starbucks. Local 1110 becomes a chain restaurant. The White Whale, Wet Willie's. The comic shop, t-shirt shop. These are things that belong in a commercial entertainment district and would have a significant negative impact to the very character of our neighborhoods and quality of life of our residents. These are things that have already happened to communities like Charleston and to our downtown. Lastly, I just want to also say that insinuating we are somehow anti-business or anti-development through trying to conflate the issue with between hotel development and development in general is disingenuous. We are not anti-hotel. We are pro-residents. We support development that enhances our neighborhoods, supports local small businesses, and protects quality of life for our residents. We are simply asking for the tools and the protections to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. My applause comment's not going to go anywhere, I can see that. Anyway, just please keep it to a minimum. Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
Good afternoon. My name is Gloria Williams, President of the Cala Brownville Neighborhood Association. I address you, the commission. The Cala Brownville Neighborhood Association has been working closely with CHSA and Civics, formerly known as Galvin's Foundation, to strengthen and revitalize our neighborhood. Together with our partners, we are creating a vibrant, inclusive community where families can thrive, and that is our major thing, is that families thrive. Through this collaboration since 2023, we have achieved the following, and I will share with you. Developed or we've renovated 18 homes, creating quality housing opportunities for residents, enabled 15 families to become homeowners, fostering community stability and generational wealth building. We've completed home repairs for 25 families, ensuring safer, more sustainable living conditions. Created and or either preserved 95 rental units, which includes 88 units of low-income housing tax credits at Heritage Place. These rental units were dedicated to affordable and workforce housing, addressing the critical need for accessible housing options in our area. As a neighborhood, we are especially, and again I say especially, excited about the development of 4 units being renovated for medically fragile individuals. This initiative demonstrates our commitment to welcoming all people and supporting their ability to recover and live with dignity within our community. We are also proud to celebrate the renovation of the historic Kaya House. It's now known as the Kaya Campus, once a cornerstone of Savannah African American arts and culture scene. The Kaya Campus will once again serve as a vibrant hub for creativity, education, community gathering, honoring the legacy of Virginia Kaya, and restoring an essential piece of our culture heritage. As we move forward, we stand united in our belief that the Cala Brownville must remain a neighborhood for family and neighbors, not a transient development for our hotels. Our collective vision is to preserve history, culture, and belonging that define this historic African American community. Together, these efforts reflect our unwavering dedication to equitable development, neighborhood revitalization, and long-term housing affordability for all of our residents within the Cala Brownville. And I want to say, as president, I am indeed proud of Cala Brownville. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Before we get to questions, I do want to say, and especially before we get into public comment, our staff here do their best in creating these recommendations. One of the reasons why we're back here today is because MPC called for more input and more outreach amongst the different neighborhood associations. There's been a lot of, little bit of animosity, I think, coming towards some of our staff, both in person and online. And I just want to cool the temperature down a bit. These folks are just doing their jobs and they're doing their best to come up with recommendations that apply to the law. With that said, does anybody from the board have any questions for the staff or for the petitioner?
Question for staff. It looks like there's some disagreement, and I just want to kind of get to the bottom of one point in particular, because I know it's important to a couple members here. And I'll tell you my understanding, and you can tell me where I'm wrong. The current process, if I wanted to build a hotel, one of these areas, is I would apply for a special use permit. That would come before this board, the MPC. There would be a public hearing. This board would then make a recommendation. That would go to city council. That would be an additional public hearing. city council would have the final say on it. If they granted it, then I could build a hotel. That's the current situation as it stands. Is that correct?
If your property is zoned TC1 or TC2, that is correct.
If this passes, if option, let's call it option 0, passes, the new process would be, I would need to file for a map amendment and text amendment, which could be heard simultaneously. It would come before this board, which would then be a public hearing. This board would make a recommendation that would go to city council, an additional public hearing. It would make, their decision. If they said yes, I could then build a hotel. Am I missing a part of, is there an additional layer that this protects that I'm leaving out, that has been left out? I know we've talked about this in pre-meeting multiple times. There's clearly some disagreement on whether it actually creates an additional layer. What practically changes if I'm the hotel developer and I want to build a hotel in one of those districts you said?
That is correct. If option 0 or option 3, as you see on your screen, were selected, you would need to come back for an amendment of some sort, a map at a minimum, simply to apply what would be a blue square that you see, because we would be talking about a small hotel, to the map that you see on the screen. Depending on the nature of the project, I could see an instance where it would also require a text amendment if there was some special consideration that needed to be made, and you needed a little bit of relief within the text. But a map amendment at a minimum is the only thing that would kind of be added to this process.
Then from a practical standpoint, what you're saying is we would call one a special use permit, one would be a map amendment, but the process would be the same? Is that what staff is saying here?
It would add another layer. So then there would be double the public hearings.
One extra meeting?
So I would liken this to a flume and a rezoning, in essence, the way that we will often do both in concert. You would then likely hear a text amendment, and then you would hear the special use, and both of those petitions would be sent to city council, potentially to be placed on separate tracks, first reading, second reading, or to be heard concurrently. So,
thank you.
Sure.
Yes, Mr. Melder.
I'm sure I'm going to regret this. I've got some questions for Mr. Combs.
I've simmered down, it's okay.
I'm sure there's a deck in a card in your deck of fallacies that might describe this, but I want to be clear on because I thought the process has been a good one. I think the petitions driven by the neighborhoods are always a fantastic thing to see. And I understand the concerns about hotel developments. But I want to make sure what the intent of the petitioners are, because I hear one thing from the petitioners and another from what the actual ordinance would say. What I hear from the petitioners is that we want more control and greater protection. We're not saying that we don't want a hotel development if it's a good one. We're saying we want more process and more protection. The hotel overlay map says no hotels. And I'm trying to square that in terms of good planning policy, since I know you are very well educated in that. And to better understand from a policy perspective how we square the desire of neighborhood association leaders who want more say-so and control and protection over the development of hotels.
That's not just leaders,
versus
that's
a
everybody.
zoning map that says 0 hotels.
Right.
That's the
Well, I mean,
question.
this is kind of a difference between people who deal with zoning a lot and people who don't. You guys, me, McCorkle, Yellen, look at a zoning map and know that it can always be tinkered with. And I think anyone who is sophisticated enough to be in the hotel business knows that even seeing that big pink blob knows that there's a way to get through that if they really try hard. And actually, is McCorkle still here? Still here. Still here? I mean, because actually, well, I'm bringing you up because I reviewed the process of what he had to go through to get Cohen Street put onto the HDO. And it was not just a simple extra layer. It required all kinds of negotiation with the Jewish groups and whatnot. And I mean, it wasn't just a simple normal process. So we are looking for that extra layer if there ever were to be a hotel that came through. And again, this would be on future people. I won't be around forever. Hopefully this would, go on in the future 10, 20 years. But the great thing is, Hold on here, I'm reading my note. I might just invite you up if you want to say something. But, I mean, quite frankly, our neighborhoods are going great right now. And we don't want that to be derailed by, a hotel coming in and bigfooting. Because even a 40-room hotel is going to be 4 or 5 stories and take up, half of one of our small blocks or something. And a lot of the people, I'm not sure if you read a lot of the letters that came in, a lot of the people have come to Starland and Victorian, et cetera, to open their first business in their 30s and 40s. And they couldn't have done that downtown because the rents and everything are too much. And they're afraid of hotels coming into our neighborhood. And then like Nancy said, national chains following them, and everyone's price is going up, and then they get pushed out again, and where do they go? Starland's going great. We want to keep it that way.
Yeah.
We have no hotels. We're not suffering from having no hotels, so we'd like to keep that condition.
And I guess I would also just add, I think the reason why we're having to have the conversation that is hard to square is because it has happened. And so we, as a part of this process, had to acknowledge the fact that the HDO is not infallible. And if there weren't 2 instances that a developer was able to poke a hole through it, I don't think we would have to be having this conversation. But that's reality. That's the reality of what has happened in the past. So we have to acknowledge it, that it's probably likely going to happen in the future.
Okay.
Makes sense?
It makes sense. I want to make sure that I understand what the...
The easy way to explain it is belt and suspenders. We're just looking for extra protection.
My menswear guide would say that would not be appropriate. As a man of fashion, I know you appreciate that, Jason. But no, I appreciate that. I just wanted to get a further understanding of that from the neighborhood leaders. Thank you.
Ms. Jarrett.
Karen Jarrett here. So I have concerns as well. I live in the Thomas Square neighborhood. I'm very happy to be living there. I've been there for about 20 years myself, and I love the neighborhood. I remember being at a meeting where Mr. Combs and Ms. Liddy were talking about the hotel overlay and bringing these items before us. And I recall Mr. Holmes, and I remember someone, I guess it was Ms. Maya, talking about the tax consequences of hotels and what they would do to my property, how they might affect my property. But I remember Mr. Combs talking about if we don't allow small hotels, then SCAD could come in and buy up the property. And that affects my taxes considerably. That is one of my concerns. I do think that we need a lot of protections for a hotel coming in, but I also think that a small hotel might be much preferred over a SCAD dorm.
Okay, I don't recall that conversation exactly, but also I'll bring up again that, we found that through these surveys that when a lot of our people, the whole reason we tested the 40-room definition and came up with it for boutique hotels was because in a previous survey, people had said, we don't want big hotels, but we might be okay with a boutique hotel, but there was no quantitative definition of what that was. Through the second survey, we found that...
It wasn't a direct question, but you mentioned your name, so I allowed you a moment to speak. But Mr. Stevens has a question.
Up to 15 rooms is still allowed, so I just wanted to put that in there.
I understand. I also do strongly agree with Mr. Morrow on the fact that I do not want to see properties continue to degrade. I would much rather see them turned into a small hotel or a boarding house or, an inn than to see them continue. I live very close to the fire station at Barnard and 38th Street, and what's happening to that building is just... it's criminal in my mind.
SRO, not boarding house.
Yes.
SRO, not boarding house.
All right, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mr. Stevens.
I just want to count the layers of protection, that's all. Does this, Mr. Morrow, does this not also, in these defined areas, would this also go before the HPC, correct?
That is correct.
So I guess I'm just trying to really count how many layers of protection are there and just kind of see where we balance. So I think I got it. I appreciate that.
Any other questions? All right, then we'll start on the public comment. We have a lot, so if you can limit your speaking to 2 minutes, and if you hear somebody mention the comments that you have and you don't feel like there's a need to repeat it, please just let me know when I call your name. Thank you. Paul Kobit, is that right? Please state your name for the record, and you have 2 minutes.
Good afternoon. My name is Paul Corbet, and I'm here to speak as president of the Downtown Neighborhood Association. We're here today to speak in strong support of the proposed hotel overlay text amendment. Further, we're opposed to the MPC staff's recommendation to adopt an option that would apply to all historic districts. As you know, the Landmark District already has a hotel overlay plan, a plan that was worked out by stakeholders over an extended period of time. That agreement's been modified twice, and in both cases, stakeholders were consulted, and both of those modifications took place with full consideration and agreement by all parties. The alternative option being recommended today by MPC staff apparently codifies a change to the Landmark District's portion of the hotel overlay without the benefit of any consultation or discussion from the Landmark District. Establishing changes to the hotel overlay that would apply to the Landmark District without involving the Landmark District stakeholders sets an inappropriate precedent. Further, we find the MPC recommendation of extending the bonus story into other historic neighborhoods to be particularly problematic. Essentially, the bonus story is a pass to violate the height map and encourages overbuilding. I'd like to provide some statistics from a recent article in the Savannah Morning News. The piece quotes Joe Marinelli, President and CEO of Visit Savannah, citing that Savannah has in the neighborhood of 4,000 hotel rooms, either under construction or planned under 32 different development projects. I have a copy of that article here, and the author is sitting here in this room. That's 4,000 hotel rooms over and above what we started with at the beginning of this year. With a tsunami of 4,000 hotel rooms coming at us, why would we ever want to establish a path to even more hotel development at the expense of existing multifamily residences? We urge this board to recognize the current sentiment of the residents in the affected historic districts and approve the text amendment as proposed.
Thank you, Mr. Corbett. Next up, we have Amanda Corbett.
Thank you. Hi, Amanda Kerbrat, and I just wanted to highlight something that some of my neighbors and I had to say in our letters, which is that the Thomas Square neighborhood really lacks the infrastructure to support this increased influx of tourism that would happen with hotels, stormwater drainage in particular, like boo-hoo, poor me. But I mean, I saved a long time to buy my dream car, and my dream car died on Jefferson, just around the block from my house, because I won't pull a U-turn in the middle of the street to park in front of my house. So I drove around the block and water in the engine, bye-bye car, can't afford to replace it, that's gone now. So it would be nice if we had the infrastructure to support these kinds of things. And the other thing I just want to say is that it is tone deaf for hotels to go up in a neighborhood where my neighbors who are unhoused, who I call my neighbors because they are, have absolutely no hope of affordable housing. You know, I mean, I know people and help people out in my neighborhood who work minimum wage jobs, and they live on the street because they cannot afford anywhere to live. And the Mission is not a place to live, and there's not enough. And so I just feel that we need to take care of our neighbors, and we need to take care of our neighborhood, and hotels isn't the way. So, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Corbett. Andrew Jones.
Good afternoon, Andrew Jones. I'm with the Oglethorpe Plan Coalition, which is a 501c3 organization exclusively dedicated to preserving the Savannah Downtown Historic District. And we support the efforts of our neighboring historic districts today, but I'm going to speak to you about a very narrow point and it was one that the Paul Kobe referenced. We're very concerned about these modifications in the MPC staff report to option 1, which appear to apply to all historic districts. Although initially this topic was supposed to be about the districts other than the downtown. So the downtown's gotten roped into this, and we found out basically 2 days ago. It's the first time that we're hearing about these modifications and how they would apply across the downtown. Members of the historic district community have not been adequately notified of the applicability of these particular changes and have not, in the last 2 days, had the opportunity to consider them thoughtfully and weigh in on them. Of great concern is any expansion of the bonus floor provisions beyond large-scale development. So they apply in the downtown for large-scale development, but what this would do is allow buildings other than large-scale development to also get bonus floors. This hasn't gone by anybody in the downtown. Both the hotel overlay and the height map and the bonus floor provisions, those were all subject to long processes with public input. And here's something coming in through the back door, and we've had 2 days to digest it. This just isn't right. And the bonus floor affects more than just use. So we're not just talking about what the use of the building is, it affects the physical appearance and historic integrity of the district. You're changing the historic preservation rules through a back door, through an MPC modification at the last moment. So please exclude the Savannah Downtown Historic District from any amendments to the HDO. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Mr. Hudsrucker? Mr. Hudsrucker, yes.
Sorry.
That's right.
Out in the weeds.
Come on in, stay a while.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jim Hunsrecker, President of the Forsyth Park Community Alliance. I would like to add to the landmark discussion of not having time to consider. Basically, if this is sent to City Council has a record of not voting on recommendations based on lack of community involvement. The 3 historic neighborhoods have unified in opposition to additional hotel developments. I live close to SCAD, a SCAD dorm, and also to a hotel for the hotel since 2005. So they band together because hotels have clearly reduced the livability of residential neighborhoods in the landmark district. Even if the 3 neighborhoods are granted this change, vigilance remains critical until the city corrects the ordinance. Without meaningful reform, inappropriate development remains a persistent threat. Hotels exploit gaps in city enforcement. Parking requirements, the city lacks resources to monitor, and noise violations, the city cannot address unless neighbors police them. Despite hotels' promises of being good neighbors, the track record shows otherwise. City leadership states it values neighborhoods, yet they continue to approve hotels and risky projects like underground garages and flood zones, putting our groundwater resource at risk without adequate public input. These decisions reveal a troubling gap between stated priorities and actual policy. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Marlene Castricato? Castricato, thank you. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you for letting us speak here. My name is Marlene Castricato. I live in the Thomas Square area. The first gentleman who spoke said that most of our objections were to form rather than the character of our neighborhood. And I can only say he's never been to any of my parties. So we have a huge progressive dinner around the Mardi Gras time, and it gets bigger every year, mostly single home family owners, and it's about 150 people. And it's potluck, and my husband is a musician, and he brings them down the line from house to house. We have a huge Christmas caroling party, open doors to the neighborhood, and anybody wants to come, and I always post that up on Savannah Connection. It's Christmas caroling. All the musicians in the family are out, and we have a lot of fun. I have a free library in the front of my house, and I know the names of my neighbors. And I know what they like to read, and I fill it with books that they like to read. I know their names when they walk by, and I know the names of their dogs. We have a community. And we just want a little bit more protection to keep that community or to have some say in how it develops. That's really all I had to say.
Thank you very much. Carolina Brunn, I can't quite see. Thank you. You said she had to leave? Yes. Okay. Collier Neely.
Good afternoon. I'm Carter Neely. I'm the new president for the Historic Savannah Foundation. I believe you've heard from Paul Corbett and Mr. Jones regarding the changes that were recommended by staff for this agenda item and the way that they affect the landmark district. We simply do not support these amendments, and we support the text amendment as it is. These recommendations that are being made by MPC ignore the mixed use as a part of the historic pattern of development, and they seem to extend the bonus story into the historic districts. Both threaten vital elements of the historic character and the feeling of all these historic districts. And as the new guy in town, that's something that I've heard consistently about downtown in the Landmark District, the change, the feel, and the quality of life in the downtown because of the hotel development. And simply here, they're asking to preserve the character of the districts and the neighborhoods that they live in. Additionally, the proposed special use permit in its allowance into the landmark district erode the intention of the HDO. HSF wants to see a community-driven process that protects the character of the historic districts without eroding the essential features of their integrity, like feeling and association. Reducing historic residential neighborhoods to hotel districts threaten their character and fundamentally changes how we use our built environment. Thank you all for your time today.
Thank you. Ramsey Khalidi.
Board. There are...
Just state your name for the record.
Ramsey Colliday. This has been well vetted today. A lot of wounds are opened, and I just want to make 6 quick points that may coincide with some of the observations of even the board members and the great job the staff has done. One of the things I'd like to see in any of the scenarios is boundaries defined. For instance, is it in the middle of the street? If you would take East Broad Street or any of the boundary streets, is it in the middle or is it both sides? The last thing anybody would want to see is a canyon effect like on Bay Street. This doesn't need to be specific to hotels. There may be a blend here, but there are dormitories. There are so many massive structures. If you look at what Victory between Montgomery and Barnard looks like, or if you go now what's going on at Bull Street, rows and rows and rows of historic buildings. You brought up the one at Duffy and Bull, which is great. That's a great model. And I'm going to bring up Dr. Sharkey in a moment, which is right across the street. But I think we should be prioritizing the uses, not necessarily the form and the shape of the brick and mortar. That's really secondary. I do like what staff recommends. We are a preservation-centric community, and all the districts should be cognizant of that. It's just been hard to watch. Then that goes to zero tolerance for demolition. I would incorporate into any scenario a stronger out of the district. It's always north of Gaston, and oh, that doesn't matter. That's not registered. That's not registered. Go to Gwinnett Street and East Broad. The church that was there, the AME church that was there. Dr. King gave his I Have a Dream speech the day he left for Washington, D.C. to the mall to give that speech. It's a very historic structure that just went away in 3 days with no review. Do I have 2 more minutes?
That's your time, I'm sorry. We have several more speakers to get through.
Okay, I've got one short sentence to read from Dr. Sharkey, who is going to be, it's important, I think, for this body to know. Ramsey is the owner of the old Sears building. Our plan is to make a medical facility which would house our dermatology clinic as well as other multiple medical specialties in order to serve the needs of the people in downtown Savannah. it's elderly people mostly. In order to achieve this, our goal would be against any new restrictions placed on our property. Sincerely, Dr. Michael Sharkey. And what we've been discussing for over 10 years is almost like a medical campus or something that would be all-encompassing, and even like a Ronald McDonald type model that would have places.
Okay, I don't want to get
stay.
too far off what we're hearing today.
I'm done.
Thank you, Mr. Cleavy. Karen Bresley? Bursley?
Give me the, it's Beasley.
Beasley, sorry, it looked like an R.
Family affair, ball.
Miss Beasley, thank you. State your name for the record. You have 2
Karen
minutes.
Beasley, I live in Thomas Square. I am not representing any of these people with notebooks and everything else, it's just me. Bought a house. Lo and behold, Southern Living magazine comes out and calls it the best neighborhood in the South. How amazing was
Just pull that microphone a little bit closer to you. The microphone, just pull a little bit closer to you. There we go, thank you.
Yeah, I'm not a tall person, sorry. Anyway, as I said, bought a house, lo and behold, it's in the best neighborhood in the South, according to Southern Living magazine. Loved that. Couldn't afford to buy it now, but hey. My background, I don't have the educational chops that Jason has in city planning and all of that, but I do have a background in arts, culture, heritage, and tourism, boots on the ground type of background. One of the things I'm finding in Savannah, and one of the things that drew my husband and I to Savannah from Millen, Georgia, is the ability to get around the city and see green, to see houses, and to have houses and businesses all intertwined. That's what makes Thomas Square, the Victorian District, and Kylie Brownsville such wonderful areas. That is what is bringing people to Savannah. That's what brings our tourists here. That's what brings people here rather than Charleston. As one friend of mine said earlier today, Charleston has lost its soul. If Savannah starts losing the soul of these neighborhoods, it will be the same boat. So speaking not just as a homeowner who loves my neighborhood and does know my neighbors and their dogs, and we all mourned when the neighbor's dog passed, I also want to say it's not just impacting the character of these neighborhoods. This impacts the character of the entire city. And if we lose that once, we'll never get it back.
Thank you, Ms. Beasley.
Am I good? Can I go sit down?
Any questions, Ms. Beasley? Next up, we have Linda Van Apperdoorn.
So close.
I'm trying today, guys, I'm sorry.
You can just call me Linda.
All right.
It's Linda Van Apeldoorn. And I too am a resident of Thomas Square. And I am opposed to literally any hotel development in our neighborhood. My husband and I moved here about 7 years ago and chose Thomas Square primarily because it was a neighborhood. If we had wanted to live where there are hotels and downtown along that type of area, we would have bought a house there. But we chose Thomas Square because it was a neighborhood. The other night, Friday night specifically, another fellow Thomas Square person and I decided, let's do a little canvass of the neighborhood just to see what the pulse is right now. So we went up with this little petition that we made just to ask people if they were for or against hotels coming into our neighborhood. Within under an hour, we had over 57 signatures. We had people standing in line waiting to sign this little petition saying that they were against hotels happening in our neighborhood. And I can't tell you how many people said they were sick and tired of more hotels coming into the city of Savannah. So I had submitted this into the record with the MPC. I don't know if it ever got posted, but if you would like a copy, I'm more than happy to give it to you. Thank you.
Thank you. If you'd like to submit it with staff, that's fine. Thank you. Virginia Mobley.
Good afternoon. You've been asked to approve option 1. I want you to know it won't work. My home is located on the corner of a TN2 block. There are 10 residential units, 9 of which are historic. It sits on a lot of 8,460 square feet. It has over 6,360 square feet of open space. At the present, there are 19 parking spaces for 15 cars that live on the street. That 3 nights a week, we play musical chairs. In addition, we have all experienced plumbing problems due to decaying infrastructure. Under Plan 0, there would be a 3-step process. There would be a text amendment, there would be a variance for a special use, and there would be a council report. There would be 3 opportunities to see if this fit in my neighborhood. Under Plan 1, or Option 1, none of that would be there. It would be a simple special use permit. Is that fair to the people who have invested in the residential and the revitalization of a neighborhood that 20 years ago was so blighted that nobody but us old-timers wanted to be there? It's returned to a vital, thriving, growing neighborhood, and all of the protection that you can put in place is what is needed. Is that?
Thank you, Ms. Mobley. Thank you.
Ms. Mobley?
Ms. Chair has a question for you.
Can you tell me how you feel about the demolition of historic structures to build?
I don't think they should be destroyed.
Do you think
But we can look on MLK at the battlefield, where historic structures, residential areas, small cottages were incorporated into the design of a very large hotel that has destroyed the whole context of the railroad workers who lived in those historic structures.
Understood. Thank you.
David McDonald. Thank you, Ms. Mobley.
Thank you. David McDonald, downtown resident and former president of the Downtown Neighborhood Association. I am supporting the initiative of the Starland District Victorian Neighborhood and Kyle Brownville and having a hotel development overlay modified, option 3 or 0, ideally with no hotels as they requested. I worked with the city and on the other 2 amendments to that, and one of the benefits that the hotel development overlay provides is that residents have the opportunity to argue against a hotel. As we see with 2024 East Oglethorpe and 301 Tatnall Street, we are not allowed to bring up end use on any developments. Whatever the developer wants to put there, they can. All we can argue and articulate against is height and mass. By having the hotel development say no hotels, we know what's coming, we can argue or support it. It allows another benefit to the residents and their support of that. So I recommend, I hope you would implement option 0, no hotels, and oppose what staff has recommended for the bonus floors as well as multi-unit families. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McDonald. Gloria Williams, I think?
I've already spoken.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Patricia Jenkins Spady?
She had to leave family emergency.
Thank you for that, too. Melissa Memory?
Good afternoon. I'm Melissa Memory. I'm a resident of Thomas Square. I've lived there for the past 12 years, and not being redundant with a lot of the other folks in the room who've already spoken, I chose Thomas Square because of its residential character, and also love it because it is a neighborhood, and I know my neighbors. I wanted just to bring up something that hasn't been discussed in terms of just, just recently retired, but I was in the tourism industry. And I feel like we've heard for several years now about a tourism management plan, and it's sorely needed, but it just seems like we really need to think about these things and in the context of how many is enough. We've had some large-scale developments constructed, one that's been blocked off the street for going on 7 years now, and that was pushed through without the support of the neighborhood. And I just feel like we really need to know what are our end goals and support existing tourism infrastructure. With all these new hotels, we've seen a decrease in tourism, and without a tourism management plan, people in the tourism industry could be adversely impacted by unlimited hotel growth. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Miller. Dane Hancock. Dane Hancock. All right. Patrick Wilver.
Good afternoon. I'm Pat Wilver. I live on the east side, rising in support of the proposed amendment, option 0. Frankly, I prefer something a little stricter against the hotels, but it is what it is. I want to acknowledge staff's note that there is already heavy tourist use in the area. I agree. That's part of what we have a problem with, frankly, is the heavy tourist use in the area. Mr. Melder, in the last item, you mentioned that often items that come before this board are representative of wider debates that are happening in the city. I would agree with that. We have, you've seen before you here with all the people speaking opposed, quite an upwelling of opposition to these hotels. You saw it in the surveys that were presented by staff. Their own research indicates how heavily opposed the citizens are to this, to any new hospitality development. So my question is, who does the city represent? Does the city represent the tax-paying voting citizens of Savannah or the tourists and the hotel operators? When I moved here in 2014, I was a young lieutenant stationed at Fort Stewart, and I remember at the time, a lot of my friends lived downtown, historic district, and that was on, $50K a year is what we made, decent money, nothing crazy. Those lieutenants today could never afford to live downtown, can barely afford to live in Starland. And so, what we have now is a downtown that's not a place where people live. Frankly, it's antebellum Disneyland, right? No, it is. It's not a real place. It's something that we, put together for the tourists, but it doesn't exist for us. And money gets spent down there. I think $60 million just got appropriated to spruce up River Street. Meanwhile, my street floods every time it rains. So who's this city for? That's my question. And to the point, we absolutely are pro-business. I would ask, how many businesses got forced out of the soon-to-be Ritz-Carlton, right? That these were Savannians, Savannian-owned businesses that now are not there anymore for a hotel. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wilver. Kerry Smith.
If I could ask a question?
Yes, Mr. Mulder.
I just want to thank you for your service. Thank you. And just a point of clarity on the River Street development, that money is coming from an increase in hotel motel taxes, which can only be spent per state law on tourism product development.
Well, that's good. I guess let their money, increase the value of their place that they enjoy. That makes sense.
Well, that's what the state law, for a portion of those dollars.
Yeah.
The other portion of those dollars are going to build things like Tide to Town Trail, rebuild the Waterworks building into an entrepreneurial center for the West Side.
I'm not disputing that, the tourists, they certainly do add to the tax base. I'm not disputing that at all. But, it's not just taxes. We can have all these taxes coming in, and if, the citizens can't afford to live here, it doesn't make a difference.
No, I understand what you're saying.
Sure, we got the money coming in, great.
I just want to make a clarity on that one point that you made for the other folks. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yep.
Kerry Smith.
Thank you for your time. I work for the Georgia Coalition of the People's Agenda, but today I am going to speak as an individual. I am a graduate of Savannah State University, urban planning, and a 2026 graduate of Clark Atlanta University PhD. Thank you. So the collective plan growth that we need to discuss are identifying issues which across the line, if I went to the Gullah Geechee corridor and I went to their event, or I went to a Yamacraw event, or I went to a Thomas Square event, the most important thing that we hear is affordable housing and the crisis that we have to prevent more hotels coming in and providing places for affordable housing. If we replace these lots or these areas which could be affordable homes for people who are going to live here long term, we're going to replace them with hotels which won't last 10 to 20 years. So let's put this in perspective. The zero plan that we're talking about minimalizes hotels. We already have STVRs. So if we're going to replace properties, which are opportunity lots for affordable housing, this would lead to urban decay if we replace them with hotels. If we continue to transition from all Savannah moving residents out to outlying areas, the visitors will not see an authentic Savannah. It will become authentically commercial, as we've heard other people talk about. Call it Brownsville, if I was talking as an individual, talking for the People's Agenda, which is a black and brown organization, is historic areas which are significant because we're talking about historic black and brown homes that cannot be replaced, period. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. Jonathan Morgan. Jonathan Morgan.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Jonathan Morgan. I live on 19 West 37th, 37th and Whitaker Street, where all the car crashes happen. I'm impressed by who we have here, whether it's you guys that are volunteering to do this or the diversity that we have in our community. I go around the world all the time. I can't find anything like this. This is special. We have something so special. And, nobody's opposing somebody wanting to open up a community grocery store where we can get fresh vegetables out and get in a car. We'd love to have that in our neighborhood. We'd love to have, there's improvements need to happen. We need to get, some traffic control on. Henry and Anderson's a little crazy, and Whitaker and Drayton. We all suffer through this. The last thing we need is more hotels. Look, when hotels are doing good, we got parking problems. When hotels are doing bad, everyone who works for the hotel, they don't have work. And we've got a big empty building. And hotels that are coming in, you're talking about places showing up, large hotels. This is not local money coming in, or if the money's local, it's going to other places. What we have right now with STVRs or people able to do an inn up to 16 rooms, that's money that goes directly into the community and directly into people that are invested in the community to do something positive that improves all of our lives. And I'm hearing these people, these are great people. I see them walking their dogs coming by. I see a lot of these people go to meetings. We're all here on a Tuesday. I don't need to put on a nice shirt. I need to be up fixing my roof with all this rain we have, And we're here, and you guys are here volunteering too, so we can stop the worst development, please, no hotels. Why don't we just put pawn shops everywhere and see how the neighborhood goes? Everyone get their bicycles stolen, take it there. Can we get some better hotels? If we get maybe the two lawyers that are so good at arguing here could give a BOGO deal for people to come in with neighborhood grocery stores. We need grocery stores, We need some positives. So I just want to say that. Thank you guys so much. Please consider Plan Zero.
Thank you, Mr. Morgan. Robert McCorkle.
Extremely hesitant to make this comment, but I'm going to, since I was using this example about process and was also mentioned as someone who would probably know more about the process than most other folks. Our process in connection with Cohen Street was in fact a text amendment. There is no map amendment to go through that process now. It's not a map, it's not the zoning map you're amending a map that's a hotel district overlay, which is actually part of the text. So all it was a text amendment. We were not required to have a neighborhood meeting. Text amendments don't require signs on the property. We agreed to put up a sign because we had discussions with MPC about it. And we spent 6 months of negotiations with cemetery owners about how we can make this project work. And ultimately, after more than 6 months, that's how that ended up getting approved. I would proffer to you that the process of that on Cone Street would have been no different whatsoever had it been a special use approval. No different. We'd have had the same number of public meetings, we'd had the same 6 months discussion with the owners and their lawyers, and we would have had signs up. And so the process, to me, would be no different. One huge difference would be this, though, between what's here and what was there. There, Cohen Street was inside of the HDO map where large hotels are permitted. The only thing that wasn't allowed on Cohen Street was the little red line wasn't on Cohen Street saying that was a street. But large hotels fundamentally were permitted in the area. And so when we went and asked for that text amendment, all we were doing was add a little red line. Under what's being proposed, you were starting from the baseline that there are no hotels permitted anywhere. And I think Mr. Combs is correct. It will make it virtually impossible for one to get approved. I assume that's why they're asking, which they have the right to ask for. But it will make it virtually impossible because you're starting talking about framing of arguments. You're framing the argument with, this is not permitted anywhere in our district. The entire purpose of special use is the idea that there are uses like pawn shops and like liquor stores and like businesses that sell alcohol, which are already special uses in the mid-city. They have to go through a special process where elected officials decide, is it okay here? And this board that's appointed by those elected officials decide whether to recommend to them whether it's approved here. It's what special uses are for. And so the idea that over this swath of the city, you can't have a hotel in any location is just a broad stroke that would make it virtually impossible.
Thank you, Mr. McCorkle.
At this time, special permits are possible.
Special use is allowed. What I think staff's recommending, though, is to limit it to 40-room hotels. Right now, you could have a special use approval and build a 75-room hotel. So what staff's recommending, I think, is not just leaving it as it is, it's actually restricting it further, but leaving it as a special use.
Thank you.
Lane Sharkey Horstown, I think?
Oh, this is not my favorite thing to do. Hi, my name is Lane Huerta, and I am a parent, I'm an artist, and I am a resident of Starland Thomas Square neighborhood. I am one of the people that was able to afford to start a business. I live and work in between Bull and Drayton Street on 40th. I'm speaking to you from my point of view as someone, not these wonderfully educated people that have given you statistics and facts. I am now having to walk 2 blocks to reach my home when I park with groceries and things like that. We don't have enough crosswalks. The infrastructure is not there. We all know about the parking survey. We just had a lot of good conversations with the folks that did that. Mr. Notrika, is there any way you could not be on your cell phone while I'm speaking, please? I reclaim my time until he's done. I'm sorry, but I've just spent 3 hours sitting here, and I appreciate your time as well, but my life is being affected. I cannot afford to move. I do not own multiple properties. This is my home. These are my neighbors. These are the people that care about what is going on in our neighborhood. I'm sorry. We are just not there yet. We don't have parking. I would love for y'all to come down on next First Friday or come eat the best fried chicken at Bro Shoes next door to me. Guess what? You won't be able to find a parking spot. Please take the trolley. Maybe they can make the trolley go until 10 o'clock. We are not ready, and we can't take more people. The garbage cans are overflowing. My daughter almost got hit walking across Bull Street the other day. As a mother, as a person who loves Starland and Thomas Square, I beg you to think about the real stakeholders here. I could have a hotel, Mr. McCorkle, I don't know. We could have a hotel on my block, and we just can't take it right now. 44 rooms is the municipal grand. Just go with that size and space on the corner of 40th and Bull. We can't take it right now. I appreciate your time. Thank you for volunteering. Thanks, Mr. Notrika, for getting back.
Thank you. So now we're going to move to online, I believe. Alechi Trotman? Or maybe in person? Is that right?
Hello, I just want to thank everybody for being here today.
Please state your name for the record.
My name is Alechi Trotman. I am a first-generation African-American. So home ownership, I'm the youngest person in my family to own a home, and I'm the youngest person to own a home on my street. So this is very important for me. I also want to be able to show people in the generations behind me that home ownership can be possible, but if we're allowing hotels to come into our neighborhood, that just won't happen. So I'm here today to ask that you all please vote for option 0 to have no hotel overlays in the extension, because this proposal isn't just about maps or zoning. It's about our homes, it's about our futures, it's about the generations coming behind us and the freedom to decide what happens to our blocks that we work so hard to rebuild. First, there's no proof that hotel invasion is coming to our neighborhoods. Even the city's own staff has stated that there's no imminent hotel threat. So why add more red tape and restrictions when there's no real problem to solve? Second, our neighborhoods already ban hotels and STVRs. That means that this overlay will simply double regulate us, 2 sets of rules saying the same thing while giving us 0 new rights. Where's the balance? Can we as residents be able to capitalize the same way that hotels would be able to capitalize in our neighborhoods? We want to be able to make sure that, like the lady here mentioned, we can't take it financially unless we have some sort of balance. Third, the extension will lock our communities in place. If the city ever wants to create fair, limited options for owner-occupied STVRs or adaptive reuse of historic homes, this overlay shuts the door for good. Once that door is closed, it's not open again.
Thank you, Ms. Trotman. That's your time.
Okay, any questions?
All right. Now I think we're moving to online. Stephen Harlow. Mr. Harlow, if you can speak up just a little bit, we're having a hard time hearing you. It's a little muffled. Just go ahead, we'll do our best.
Unlike most of the people, I do not live in Savannah. What I do is I buy distressed properties in Savannah, homes, and completely rebuild them and sell them to typically first-time home buyers. So I really believe in that. I enjoy doing it, and I'm tickled that I'm able to sell somebody their first home. My property or the lot has a less than 9, and I am against building the hotels. I would not feel right about supporting hotels. What the hotels are going to bring is a bigger problem with parking. One of the things that you have in Savannah or the Keck area is very narrow lots. Comparing it to residential lots, well, I own residential properties in 5 other states. The lots are very narrow. You're going to have a bigger parking problem than you have right now. I do not think it's a good idea mathematically. It just does not work. So I say no on hotels. I want to put somebody in a property that I'm going to build that's going to get the enjoyment out of living there in a residential area. I really believe in that. I look at the tourist things. The tourists, you can build hotels in other areas. People can come in, they use Airbnb and so forth. There's a better way to solve any tourist problems or tourist issues. So I take more hotels. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harlow. William Dallas. Mr. Dallas, if you're online, please unmute yourself. move on. Selena Calaprete? Ms. Calaprete, if you're online, please unmute yourself. Yes, please state your name for the record, and you have 2 minutes.
Hi, my name is Selena Colapri, and I live and work downtown on the west side of Forsyth Park. My family is also from Cloverdale, a historic Black community. So frankly, back only 13 years ago, I've always had ties to the city, and one of the things that I and most tourists who visit our city love most is how we walk downtown and see and feel the history. Over the years, there's been an abundance of change that's continually diminished that historic charm that some people love about downtown. But on my side of town, the charm remains for now, and hopefully in the future with support of what we're all option zero. We already have a healthy crisis in our city, parking issues out the wazoo, and flooding that has yet to be truly corrected. While we add hotels in these areas, we're only exacerbating all three. I don't think I have to mention anything more about like the traffic that would cause, but adding hotels does not uplift the community at all. You know what helps? More grocery stores. Half of our town are still food deserts. You help the community invest in the locally already established neighborhoods that have a form of lifestyle. I work in the tourist industry, and I'm committed to tourists who come here, but they're going to stop coming and redoing our town's history. So make us be scared from Bergen 18 to Seaboard just to become overwhelmed by hotels.
Thank you. Next, we have Callum Crampton. Mr. Crampton, if you're online, please unmute yourself. Is he there? Mr. Crampton, we can't hear you. If you're speaking, you are muted right now. And that's your time. Hey, are you there?
Yeah, sorry about that. Don't know what the problem was. As you said, my name is Calvin Crampton. Anything that helps slow or stop the development of the hotels in this district, I'm for, so I'd be in favor of the overlay protecting. The last speaker echoed one of my thoughts, and that was that Savannah, the way it is now, is white people coming. We keep making changes, so people may stop coming. And what do we have if people stop coming? More hotel rooms, but often they're vacant. It's an overall detriment to the city. And another comment as far as adding red tape, quote unquote, because this is a planning committee by name, and we plan for the future. We're not talking what things are today. We make plans so our future continues to be bright. And that everyone here is wanting for the best, and that there's a lot of outside forces that don't contribute to Savannah, who are not part of Savannah. They don't pay. They just see an opportunity to put money in their pocket while they live in other communities by building hotels, and we should protect the residents first. Because those people don't care about the residents, and it always comes down to Savannah is the people, and their interests should be coming first. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is William Dallas online?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes. State your name for the record, sir, and you have 2 minutes.
Yes, William Dallas. I'm a property owner at West Walworth Street, and for transparency, I use my home as an FTVR. I have 5 points I want to make. One is I strongly support the petition and recommend the board or the commission accept it and reject the staff recommendation. 2, I think we do need to limit the hotels and how we do this. 3, I want to make the point that there is strong, overwhelming community support from all 3 neighborhoods on this. Number 4, the
recommendation and the staff briefer essentially in the briefing dismissed the data by reducing this to a field-informed discussion. Instead, the reason that I want to point out that the residents are looking for extra protection is my personal experience over the last 2 years dealing with the MPC and the mayor and council meeting on the garage and building that's proposed to be at Woodburn Park is completely ignoring the residents in the neighborhood input on that as the opposition to that. And I want the MPC to think about that the reason that these three neighborhoods are banding together and asking for additional protection is because the city is not listening to the citizens and the residents on what they want and how they want things to go, which is actually the people that are supposed to be governing the city through their elected representatives. Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Dallas. That is all I have for speaker cards. So I'm not sure what there is to rebut from the petitioner, but if you have any inkling to rebut any testimony that's been said from the public comment, feel free to step forward and rebut it. If not, that's any of the three petitioner or two petitioners, three petitioners.
We agree?
Then that's your statement. Is there any questions from the board or discussion?
Just a few comments from me. One, my thought is that we don't recommend anything that impacts any other districts than those neighborhoods that have come with this petition. I respect staff's problem solving with respect to demolition by neglect and wanting to solve that problem, but I think we need to go do the process on that if that's something that we need to do that impacts the whole district. The other thing I'll say is tons of passion in the room, and obviously, where you live is very personal. The good thing about this is we're not talking about a plan to allow hotels or to demolition something and build a hotel. This is about pre-planning, and the petitioners wanted to, quote unquote, get ahead of something that they saw coming, and I think this is the kind of planning that we need to go through. Somebody said it opens a lot of wounds. It does, but this is really, a good process to go through, and certainly commend the neighborhood associations for putting that petition together, and I do think that MPC and city staff, the investment we made in creating a report that now we can kind of chew on, get some more feedback from residents, and hear from it is a very, very good thing. This is looking ahead. So those are my comments.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Good.
I have a remark. It's kind of a quibble from a small remark that Mr. Combs made, and I would be happy to kind of hear his response to my thoughts on it. He made a comment near the very beginning that said there are no hotels in that area, and they're not suffering from the lack of them. I moved back to Savannah in 2014, right after college. I moved home, and I've lived most of that time in either the Victorian or the Thomas Square Starland area since moving back. And the two main issues I hear that area is suffering from most of the people I know that were my neighbors or friends, that anyone that resides there is either parking or it's the proliferation of Airbnbs, mostly on the illegal operating side, mostly not owner-occupied operating, in residential areas. I know streets that have become, all but one or two houses on the entire block are just Airbnbs. And I would posit that a hotel doesn't induce or create demand. It responds to it. We know for a fact that there's obviously quite a bit of demand for lodging services in these areas because it's currently taking the form of illegal operating Airbnbs. Those, I would argue, are possibly worse from a parking standpoint. A hotel has to meet certain parking standards. Some of these options provided by staff limit it to commercial areas, not to the residential streets. Hotels have to have parking plans, park it on site. 8 bachelorettes staying at a illegally operating Airbnb, of course, just park on the street. There's no plan, there's no solution or anything there. Is it possible that, the hotels, the lack of hotel is creating some of the hardships that, these areas are facing that I've lived with? Do you have any expansion on that? I didn't go to Georgia Tech. I went to
I'll give you
school
a
with
longer
real
answer.
football
I'll give you a
program,
longer
but,
answer. I think we can walk and chew bubble gum at the same time. We can stop hotels and we can stop illegal Airbnbs. And hopefully we are working in the parking problem. I was actually not to get too off subject, but you asked about it. But, the parking study actually took our recommendation to look at taking a lane out of Drayton and Whitaker and turning it into parking, and that would solve a lot of parking problems. And then also, let's shut down illegal Airbnbs. Let's do that.
Any other discussion or questions? Yes, Ms. Amick?
I just want to say I've served on the commission for 2 years now, and in my experience, this is the most passion I've seen, commitment, involvement, and more people need to do it for more things. Thank you for your patience. It's been awesome. I wanted to clap when y'all were clapping, and I couldn't.
Y'all did anyway, but.
All right. Any other discussion or questions?
I'd like to, before we get to any of this, can we make a motion that the final two options presented by, not options, but the recommendations by staff that are outside of this district, could we ask staff to maybe pull those aside and bring them back to us in a month or so as their own item? Would that be appropriate to ask? And so that there's time to, I think there's some merit to both of those, and I think they're worth discussing, but maybe so that there's time for some of the stakeholders in the downtown area to dig their teeth in before we discuss them or vote on them or anything like that.
So, excuse me, Edward Morrow, just to clarify, this recommendation right here for 8436 is actually to eliminate the requirement the proposed hotel use be a mixed-use development. So it's the removal of the mixed-use component.
Right.
The other stuff is unless. So it's if you decide to move forward in that direction, I think there should be some compensation so that, we can consider all of these other development standards that have to come into play. So that would be to say then, we want to nix this one thing, and it actually has nothing to do with anything outside of this district. Okay. The only thing that had anything potentially to do with outside districts was the idea that we would allow by special use small hotels in contributing structures. That is the only thing that potentially could have impacted, and it could just as easily be disconnected from the currently established hotel overlay in order to say that it only impacts those within the lower three, in essence. But yeah, I can tell there was a lot of misunderstanding about this. This is just to say at 5,500 square feet, it's extremely challenging, and a little bit disingenuous to tell someone they can have a 40-room hotel. It makes more sense to say, we're not going to do that. That's not a consideration. So actually the recommendation is to nix that, if that makes sense. But yes, to your point, we are more than happy to continue these conversations, and hopefully at every juncture, it is your understanding that when I bring you things that go over and beyond, and they may tip into academic studies even, standards that are, outside of our jurisdictions that we should, ascribe to reach. Hopefully you all do understand that these are things that I hope you will grapple with, and that you will raise the level of both your own understanding and the community so that we can achieve, progress together, if that makes sense. This is not to detract from anything. If we say that preservation is a priority, you would think that we would consider, okay, let's at least put it in the balance so that we can make sure that we're considering that as we move forward. So I hope I answered your question.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
I have a question, Mr. Morrow. Lorraine Bose. So just so that I understand, I think there was a question earlier, the city manager asked, are we talking about no hotels in TC zoning, or are we talking about an additional overlay? I just want to get clarification on that.
What has been dubbed option 0, which is actually option 3 on your screen, there would be no hotels permitted, commercial or otherwise. Every single time that you would want to have greater than 15 rooms in a lodging establishment, you would have to amend this text to reflect that a small hotel would be permitted, or a hotel of a different size, because obviously there's no interest in actually adopting that. So a special use permit as it stands, I would imagine, would be the underlying, and then you would have to designate that bit of frontage as being permitted as well. So every single time, even in a commercial district, you would have to come back to debate that first to then get to the special use request for a hotel at 16 to 74 rooms.
So just for clarification, can you just be very pithy on this one? No hotels allowed in TC1.
That is correct, TC1 or TC2
Or
property.
TC2.
Uh,
That's
Unless you
just,
come back for variance.
Unless you come back for a
Unless
text
you-
amendment and a special. use
unless you
permit.
come back, right now, they are allowed, but option 0 is that no hotels would be allowed in those two districts. And I wanted to make sure that everybody was real clear about what is being discussed here, because it's getting a little technical, and there's just a lot of stuff going, back and forth. But at the end of the day, that's what option 0 is.
Okay, I'm glad, thank you, because we did have a discussion about whether this was just added protection or an exemption. Hotels, okay, thank you.
All right, any further discussion? All right, call for a motion. Anyone?
Or y'all are lazy.
You know I usually make them, but I'm sitting here now, so I'm letting somebody else do it.
I know, so I proffer the motion in favor of option 0.
There is a motion on the floor.
I second it.
Ms. Amick seconds it.
Should we make clear we're talking about option 3, since that's
Yes, I'll reword
for the
to,
sake of the minutes.
thank you, I'll reword the motion, option 3.
All right, Ms. Amick,
I second.
we're on the vote now. Still you.
So is that a yes or a no?
Yes, correct.
Yes.
Ms. Bowles,
Yes.
Ms. Jarrett, she's left, Mr. Kegler,
Yes.
Mr. Melder,
Yes.
Mr. Nutrika.
I'm going to recuse myself.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Plunk,
No.
Ms. Ross,
Yes.
Mr. Stevens. He left, all right. He left. Mr. Wywitty.
No.
All right, and I too vote yes. That is 6-2 with 1 recuse. Yeah, I got Mr. Melder, right? Yeah, I got Mr. Melder. You voted. You voted yes, correct? Yeah, getting in my head. All right, so the yeses have it 6-2 with 1 recusal. And just for clarity, that was based on the text amendment. We still need to make a vote on the map amendment. So I'll open the floor for a motion. This is for the map amendment. It's a two-parter.
So I am making a motion to, what?
Is this still option 3, or is there a different setup for the map amendment? Same thing, okay, so you're still,
So we are, I'm making a motion to vote for option 3, also known as option A, map amendment.
Say option A.
Option 3, dubbed option
option 3 on our computer agenda, option 0 has been
Just
discussed.
disproved Jason Combs' framing. I think we can call it option 3.
All right, so we have a motion, we're awaiting a second. We have a motion, we're awaiting a second.
Ross, second.
All right, Ms. Amick, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ms. Bowles?
Yes.
Mr. Kegler?
Yes.
Mr. Melder?
Yes.
Mr. Nutrika recused himself. Mr. Plunk?
No.
Ms. Ross?
Yes.
Mr. Wywitty?
No.
And I too vote yes. 6-2 and 1 recusal. The motion passes. I want to thank everybody for coming here. Obviously, there's a lot of passion and a lot of emotions in this, and it affects all of our community. So I want to thank everybody for being here and expressing their opinions on the matter. Just remember, this is a recommendation. This will be forwarded to City Council for final approval, so this is not the final answer on this topic.
Thank y'all.
Thank you. Right. We are not yet adjourned.
Someday.
Folks, please.
The meeting is not adjourned. Can everyone please step out?
folks. We still have business here before the board, please. Please keep it down, folks. We still have business before the board. Please take your conversations outside. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Night is night out. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
It's just lingering throughout East. I'm not contagious. I was doing fine until I had to work all night Sunday to get a report out. Hey, I'm never doing that again, and then.
We're having a conversation about it, and it's
all right, if we're ready, we'll continue on to other business, the comprehensive plan update, introduction, presentation.
Is that in here? Are we coming to it? It's been set up. Hi, everybody. This is not going to take long because I know everybody's tired. And thank you again for defending staff. It's kind of interesting that we heard what we heard and considering that we were the ones to ask for more public engagement and input, which is what they got because they didn't get it starting out. So I just wanted to be real clear about that. That we push for the planning process. So thank you for appreciating us being a little bit more innovative to try to think outside of the box with regards to dealing with preservation. With that said, and thinking outside of the box and innovation, we are now ready to start our comprehensive plan update for 2045. I've already given a presentation to the county with regards to this. We've got a year to get this approved. And as you know, we were created in 1955, so I'm not going to give you background about who we are, but the primary purpose for the MPC is that we are responsible for creating the comprehensive plan for both the city and the county. And that is something that was mandated by the legislature. So that is our function. The comprehensive plan is a roadmap for the next 20 years. And again, we update it every 5 years because things change. But as part of that, if we don't do the update, the city's not going to be eligible to, or nor the county, to get state funds with regards to housing and other economic development projects. So that is something that is a requirement. We do this in partnership with those jurisdictions as well as other partners. And I just want to take this moment to say that we also are updating Garden City's comprehensive plan. And we're excited about doing that because it gives us a chance to have some fluidity with land use patterns, and they are going to do some more innovative design stuff as well. Within the plan, there are the following elements: community goals, economic development, natural resources, transportation, community profile, land use, housing, and quality of life. And we try to focus on quality of life, because we know that that is something that's really important to the people that live in the region and in the community. As a part of this, we are hoping to develop goals and strategies that will help make sure that as we're moving forward, we have a strategy for doing implementation within 5-year increments for the recommendations. We go through this incredible extensive survey and information gathering process to, with the public in the communities. And with that said, I'm going to actually turn the rest of this over to Kathy Maxwell. She is one of the planners here. She's going to be working with us on this document, dealing with a lot of the public outreach. But just so that you know, we are hoping to have the internal draft, and it will be a rough draft, ready by the end of January of next year. We have to have the document approved before October. So this process, as we are starting, becomes very, very fast. We have a subcommittee that we will have with members of this board. I know Amanda Wilson expressed some interest with regards to participating in that subcommittee. And what we do is we'll just kind of update that subcommittee periodically, and we'll come back and give you kind of progress reports on where we are. We're hoping to have a little bit more energy and time to focus on land use this time. Previously, we didn't, because we did the update in the middle of COVID. And that proved to be, interesting with those things going on. But with that, I'm going to let Kathy talk a little bit more about some of the public outreach efforts that we are hoping to pursue. And please let us know if you've got any events and you want to take information, or you've got stuff that you want to share. We can give you folders, we can give you handouts, but please talk up the comp plan. We've got our own website and some other stuff that's already in place. Kathy.
Hello, I'm Kathy Maxwell, Assistant Planner. Yes, so upcoming events, pretty standard. We're going to be doing a lot of city and county presentations. We've already started some. We're still going to be talking to City of Savannah again, Garden City as well. We have several public events scheduled, and I'll talk about that on the next slide. And particularly, the Planning Academy will start in January, where we try to educate residents, local community leaders, and the like about how the comp plan works and what they can do to get their communities involved. And then lastly, we'll be doing the survey, which is probably the most critical part of this, where we get that intake. Everything that they, spoke about today would go into that as far as what they feel the future of Savannah and Chatham County should look like. So we're definitely going to be heavily promoting that to get that feedback, so that it doesn't make it here so much. It's already put in the comp plan because we know what they want for their city. So that's a very important element. Oh, I had a page. Okay, sorry. For the public events, we'll be doing a lot of festivals, a lot of farmers markets. We'll be doing a lot of neighborhood association meetings to talk to the communities. The primary goal of that is to get them to take the survey so we can get this data, but it's also just to get their take on everything and to have them know that we are collecting this information so that we can put it in the larger plans for the comp plan. And then, yeah, that's it. Any questions? No? Okay. Thank you. You're welcome.
Thank you so much for your work on that. If there's nothing else, is a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second? Second. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Didn't think so.
Congrats.